Good morning, and thank you for coming to the meeting either here or on the computer or the phone. Lander County Commissioners Meeting Town Board of Battle Mountain and Austin Board of County Highway Commissioners, June 23rd, 2022. Lander County Courthouse Commissioners Chamber 50, State Route 305, Battle Mountain, Nevada, also via teleconference at Austin Courthouse Commission Office, 122 Main Street, Austin, Nevada, via audio conferencing by GoToMeeting. JR, would you lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll have a moment of silence, please. Okay. Lander County Commissioners may break for lunch from 12 to 1:15 p.m. Any agenda item may be taken out of order and may be combined for consideration by the public body, and items may be pulled or removed from the agenda at any time. Okay, Commissioners' reports on meetings, conferences, and seminars attended. Kathy?
Thank you. We did have the Central Nevada Regional Water Authority meeting on the 17th. They're always long, there's always so much to offer and bring back, but unfortunately we've got a really tough schedule today, so I'm only going to highlight a couple things. One is that the lithium is really taking off in Nevada. Right now there's 40 different companies that are doing exploration on it. And the one thing that I didn't know was that all the lithium is actually sent out of the country for processing. It goes to Asia, China, whatever. They process it there and send it back. Gee, we need a processing plant in the United States. That was interesting. Al Sullivan, our Nevada water engineer, was there. And he was very, very clear about their appetite for the bill drafts coming up. Because the Department of Natural Resources is actually asking for their bill drafts by June 24th for next year, this year, of course. And he said they really don't have an appetite for doing any bill drafts. So we won't be besieged like we were at the last legislature. But of course the group is on it and watching everything closely. So just wanted you to know that, and I'll add more as we go on. Thank you.
Kathy?
I don't have anything.
No, I don't have anything. Brian?
No report.
JR?
Yeah, I went to that meeting that Patsy did. They raised the national, for your travel, 65 cents a mile.
Are you talking about the IRS
Yeah.
per diem? Oh, that doesn't have anything to do with the meeting.
Oh,
They just mentioned that the IRS has changed the mileage rate, and POCAC told us that too, so that doesn't affect July 1st, 62.5.
okay, and then, on the lithium claims, each claim can be 5 acres without going through all the litigation and stuff. And there's two types of lithium mining. One is, processing, where they put in a plant and, do a clay and evaporating ponds and all that. And the other is a filtering system, where they pump the water out of the ground, filter the lithium out, and put the water right straight back in the ground. Which made sense to me. That's all I got.
Bert?
Good morning, Commission. So I don't have much of an update. Most everything is on the agenda with the long agenda, but the one thing I did want to do is, and Ron can add to this, is thank all the volunteers that showed up in Austin. We had a fire that broke out up there, and thankfully they were having a little roping downtown there, and everybody that was there jumped on it. Unger, the Battle Mountain Fire Department, the Austin Fire Department, Kingston, Round Mountain, the BLM. It actually burnt right up against the Forest Service building, kind of charred the building, but they lost no structures and knocked it all out. So if I'm missing anybody outside of there, I just wanted to say thank you, and hopefully we can, recognize them somehow at a later date, so.
The BLM is also there for, and I think they came out of the region area, if I'm not mistaken, but Battle Mountain BLM also showed up. They had a lot of help.
Awesome. Yeah,
Good job.
we had our road and bridge show up there. It was truly a community effort from locals that were just down there roping with shovels, beating out fire to the BLM and the real firefighters. So wanted to thank everybody for that. And outside of that, everything else I have is on the agenda.
Crickets, how you doing with the crickets?
Yes, the crickets. JR is actually, we should create a sign for him. He's the cricket killer. He's been doing a great job. We have tons of bait. We're knocking crickets out everywhere. Not we, JR. The county road and bridge is poisoning, but mainly around, fields and things where they could, do some damage to our farmers and residents. So, we're trying to keep them out, and, got to thank JR for doing his part. He's about wore out his spreader doing it.
Public comment for non-agendized items. Persons are invited to submit comments in writing and/or attend and make comments on any non-agendized item at a board meeting, if any, and discussion of those comments at the discretion of the board. All public comments may be limited to 3 minutes per person, again at the discretion of the board. Reasonable restrictions may be placed on public comments based upon time, place, and manner, but public comment based upon viewpoint may not be restricted. Any public comment?
Commission, could I ask you guys one more thing too? When you speak today, would you please be sure and turn your mics on in front of you? Arts is on all the time, but some of the others aren't. So if you don't mind making sure that them are on so the recordings are coming out better.
All matters listed under the consent agenda are considered routine and may be acted upon by the Board of County Commissioners with one action without extensive discussion. Any member of the board or any citizen may request that an item be taken out of the consent agenda, discussed and acted upon separately during the meeting. Consent agenda materials are available at the Lander County Clerk's Office for viewing, and copies are available for a nominal charge. 1. Approval of the June 23rd, 2022 agenda notice. 2. Approval of the May 12th, 2022 minutes. 3. Approval of the May 26th, 2022 meeting minutes. 4. Approval of the June 9th, 2022 meeting minutes. And 5. Approval of the payroll change requests.
I didn't receive any minutes, so I'll approve items 1 and 5.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve.
And I'll second the motion.
Okay. Brian made a motion to approve number 1 and number 5. And Patsy seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Number 1, for discussion and possible action to approve, disapprove the payment of bills. Let's pull number 215783 for Patsy. 215818 for Kathy. And 215863, 215784 for Brian.
Okay, I'll make a motion to accept the remainder of the bills.
I'll second the motion.
Brian made the motion, Kathy seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
I make a motion we approve check number 215863 and 215784.
These are for Brian.
Okay, I'll second.
Okay, Patsy made the motion, Kathy seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
I abstain, they're made to my employer.
Okay, and then we have 215818 for Kathy, somebody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Okay, Brian made the motion, Patsy seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
I'll abstain, it's to my employer.
right. Okay, now Patsy's 215783.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Brian made a motion, Kathy seconded, all in favor?
Aye. And I
Okay.
recuse myself, it's for travel.
Number 2, for discussion and possible action to approve, disapprove the current lands bill.
So Commission, I put this on here, and the reason I put this on here is because the RMPP, which is, it stands for Recreation and Public Purpose. These are the lands that we've requested to be turned over to the county. I think, Ms. Patsy was on some of these meetings with us in Porter and and is fairly familiar with what, the information that we have now on some of these lands. The golf course was RMPP to Lander County. So when the government, the federal government gives these lands over to counties or local government, they don't expect you to ever use it for profit. And the minute that you start using that land for profit, then you have to either purchase the land or return it back to the federal government. And so the reason that this is on here is because I want this commission to be fully aware of some of the asks that we have on here for this lands bill are tremendous asks. You know, I want to say we're up into 22,000 acres of ground. Now, where that would come out in dollar bills is, you know, fluctuates in what kind of land evaluation we have. But as we've seen out here at the golf course, it costs us $400,000 to purchase a golf course. Now, if you times that, and that's 600 acres, I believe, or 408 something. Do you recall, what is it? 400 and something. So when we get up into the neighborhood of 22,000 acres, I just want us to be aware moving forward that if we're going to do this, that this could be potentially a $20 million venture later on in the life of Lander County. Everybody starts off with good intentions, much like we did the golf course, of using it for recreational purposes, and we're going to improve it. But then you put all these improvements into it, and somebody brings out and sets up their hot dog stand and starts making a profit on it. And then the federal government comes in and said, hey, you guys violated your recreational public purpose use for this land. Now we either take it back or you purchase it. And it puts us in that situation. I don't want us to go down that road blindly. So
It's not really our land.
it is not turned over to us like I had perceived that it was handed to us and we own the land. It is handed to us with the understanding that we have the land and we can use it for nonprofit and to better our community in ways that fit them nonprofit uses.
So if we were to build baseball fields on this land, we couldn't have a concession stand,
Nope.
just like the
So,
golf course.
so going in and knowing this, I mean, that'd just be part of the operation, I mean, or the contingency with that land that they can't do that. So, I mean, as long as you had that understanding, couldn't we, yeah, I mean, so I guess my question is, isn't there a way that we could control that to make sure a hot dog stand doesn't show up on that property? Or,
Well, yeah, you could, but
So,
what value
yeah.
is the land?
Well, it is, because the strange thing about it is, I mean, that golf course is never, ever gonna make us money.
Right.
Ever. I mean, we've dumped more money into it, we're always gonna lose, because it is for the community and the recreation. But that's not the point. The point is that we actually rent it to somebody, or lease to somebody who is making money, and therefore, we are making something back on it, even though the bottom line is we lost. So it takes on a whole new connotation. We're gonna have to really watch that and document. But if we get all these extra acres and we turn around and sell some, we understand that. I mean, that's a whole different thing. But using it for our community and putting, like you said, anything on that may bring us in $1, we're gonna have to really watch. We're gonna have to do it another way, have vendors, you know, outside the gate or something like that, or
So if we
whatever.
did, we could sell that
But it
land?
was a learning lesson.
Definitely a learning lesson. So there is some more that I'm slowly getting educated on. I think that it's good that we proceed forward with the lands bill as it is now, and then we can always come back and kind of circle things back up. But part of this lands bill and the thing that has me concerned is we've joined in convention and tourism. They are not necessarily a piece of Lander County, but they are, kind of like a subdivision of us. And so we've joined them in, and they have a huge ask on their track out there, which I think is a great thing and it's wonderful. But the road to hell is paved with good intentions, and we don't want to end up on that road knowing what's happening. So if we're going to continue down that road, we just need to make sure that we're working together with convention and tourism and their asks, and that they fully understand, and that's Paula, with what's happening there, so we don't end up in a bad situation for our community. we're very well off because this county and commissioners, this commission and past commissions have done really well at taking good care of the budget. We want to continue doing that. We don't want a $20 or $40 million hot dog stand. So now I'm going to circle back to the selling of the land. It's important that we keep this in there because if there's ever a private contractor that wants to come in and purchase this kind of land, this takes one big step out of the process. And so then the government's already kind of turned this over, and then they can buy that land via the county that put in for that recreation purpose. So it's a three-sided deal where the private owner comes in and purchases from the county through the lands bill that's already been approved. And I will get further clarification on how that works to bring back to you guys. But it's how big cities continue to expand into BLM ground and other things like that is usually the lands are turned over to the local government. The local government then does similar to what we're doing today with bidding out another piece of property. And a private landowner can then purchase that for development. So it is another arm to continued development for counties or cities that are landlocked by BLM land or ground that would otherwise be federally owned. So there's a lot of dynamics that come with it. It's a good thing to proceed forward. It's a bad thing to proceed forward blindly.
Well, you can't put a hot dog stand on it, but you can sell it.
Right, exactly.
You can't make any profit, but you can sell it and make money. Who gets the money, the federal government or the county if they sell land?
And so this is where I got to get more clarification because these things are just coming to light, and this is no shot across Porter's bow, but I'm not sure that even the Porter Group was completely familiar with how this process worked until we started getting in deeper to it. And truthfully, the golf course is what brought this whole thing to light because our question was, why is this in the lands bill if we were going to have to purchase it no matter what? Because it was already under an RMPP. So we were under the impression that that was going to be given to us. And when you guys put that in a lands bill, it's redundant of itself to put something back in a lands bill that just falls under the same RMPP that would have to be purchased anyway. So that was what kind of sparked this whole conversation and created this alarm bell that now we're in. So there's a lot more to report on this and a lot more to move forward.
And I think that if we're going forward with our eyes wide open, knowing what we're doing, we're tenfold ahead of what we were with the golf course.
Right.
And so I think that, going forward and keeping the lands bill as is, but as long as everybody knows and documents well that absolutely you can't make a profit off it, you can't have a hot dog stand. However, you can have vendors outside that make their own money, we just can't do that, and that has to be well known from day one and all the way through the completion of what wants to go on out there. So, with that being said, does Paula have something that needs to be said?
Well, also, I'd like to add too that, we're talking about at this board, what is it now 20 years down the road?
Well,
It's like similar to what happened with like the Civic Center. It's
Yeah.
like these deals were made and then you bring them into present time and we're like, well, we did, and
That's
you lose
what
track
we're-
of it, you lose sight of what it
And
is.
so we have to figure out how to fix that problem so they're not in this mess. So,
Maybe Paula has some comments, I'm not sure.
Yeah, is that any public comment on this?
Paula Tamara for the record for Lander County Convention and Tourism Authority. So, first of all, we are a political subdivision of the county that created us and a legally separated entity governed by a legal independent board. So with that, we originally came into the lands bill. It was put towards us as it was going to be a disposal of land, and through the lands bill, we could acquire the land without having to purchase it. Somewhere in between the year 1 and year 5, I think when we switched to Porter Group, it was transferred to a recreation permit, which we are allowed to just go to the BLM like we did with the golf course and do that on our own behalf. But as it states here, we were created by the county, so everything that we do is in the county's name because we are an arm of the county. We collect taxes, and that's for the improvement of the whole county in recreational facilities and the things that we do. So we're not, we try to work with the county to be able to do all of these things within our powers to improve the county. So that being said, how many of you know exactly what our lands bill is about for the track? So 2. So I'll get a little history for you so you can understand what we're working with. So about 5 years ago, I had been talking with our group that does the World Human Power Speed Challenge. And I had asked them, okay, what are some of the things long-term that you need? And in that, they requested their own track. So my first response was, we don't want to build anything that is just for one purpose. You know, so if we're gonna do something, it has to be multi-purpose, so that you're using it all year long. You're not only using it for 2 weeks out of the year. And so with that, to be able to find those things, I've been working with Arthur Ayton with the Highway Patrol. I've also talked to the undersheriff, and he's willing to help write the grant from Homeland Security to create on the inside of the track a facility that would do training for the NHP, the local police department, ambulance, fire, any emergency services. And they would create like city streetscapes in there, have buildings so they could do arms training, a variety of road conditions for defensive driving. And with that, we would be able to charge the outside entities a fee for using those facilities. And of course, the county would not have to pay. And then, and so that's one component of it. The other component on the other side is a mine rescue training center, which I've spoken with 3 of the mines, and they were very interested in that, in creating a facility that they could do their mine rescue training instead of using the civic center with cones or the park with cones and tape. And with the expressed interest from those mines, I fully believe that we'll be able to do those things fairly soon in the project. The third thing.
You see, that's where we're getting into that situation.
Yes.
Of, if we're giving everything away, that's fine, but now if
It's-
we're gonna start charging,
It-
it could come right back where we'll have to.
You can
purchase
do
it.
that in a recreation permit as long as it goes right back into the facility. So anything,
Yeah, but see, that's the sad part about it, because with our golf course, everything we have has gone right back into that golf course and more.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And we're still at a problem, so that's what we're saying, we're looking at everything, and it's come to our attention.
so I've
because
thought
we
of that
have to watch
too,
it. Yeah.
and I let staff know that we could create either a separate nonprofit or we could create a separate subgroup within convention and tourism,
Yeah, lots of
that the
choices, but it's
stakeholders,
come to our attention now, so we can do that.
But it
that the
has to be
stakeholder,
competitive.
Yes.
So if it's not a competitive thing, then
Yes.
that's where it falls under. The issue with the golf course is it competed against the businesses already in town. If you were doing something that pays back into it, that is non-competitive, that's, there's a big difference.
Yeah, there is.
yeah. And so we do not, so let me go to the other part and then I'll kind of explain that portion of it. So the other part is the track itself. So I have, I don't know, probably 10 letters of support from my people within that IHPVA. Their governments have written letters of support that they would bring their people in for several months at a time for that. We've come up with about 14 other events that we can bring in there, as well as we've talked to different entities about an electric vehicle lane in there. Some of the universities are working on it. I've toured one. They were very interested in it, in that electrical vehicle their quarter-mile track. They were only able to go 45 miles an hour on this improved track. They're able to go higher speeds and get their testing done. And as well in there, there is different ways that you can utilize the track and create a payment system for it. For instance, when a car company wants to test their car, it starts out at $1,000 an hour. And so we're able to create these different things in there that would provide the funding to be able to go right back into the facility. It takes upkeep and everything else to run the facility. And as long as we stay within that and don't bring outside businesses in, don't bring an RV park, our intent is not to have anything other than those things out there. If there needs to,
Before I lose track, let me ask you a question. So like, with bringing electrical vehicles to test, obviously there's nobody here that we're competing against, but what if an outsider wanted to come in, like you, we went through the work, you did all this, you made it successful, and then an outside landowner wanted to come in and buy a section of ground and set up something, would it then constitute as competing, and then would that violate our thing? You see where I'm going with it?
yeah, I don't know. I don't know that for certain. It's a lot of money that goes into it. I can't foresee somebody going in and competing with that, because the facility that we're looking at would be game changing, I think, for Lander County as a whole.
So, Paul, I don't mean to cut you off, but a couple points of clarification for the commission and for Paul, because what she stated is exactly correct, is that they are a sub entity of the county, but convention and tourism could not put in for the land by themselves. It has to come through this board, and there's a reason why it has to come through this board, and that's to make sure that them checks and balances are put in place. So we have definitely been fully supportive and are continuing to be fully supportive of convention and tourism, even by adding this to our lands bill and trying to push forward. And the reason this is on the agenda is not for the ideas of what could be done out there, because that's something that's a long ways off, but it's more for the clarification of everybody being aware of the potential debt that it could cause if there was some other mistake. And convention tourism, I think with Paula and their board and everybody they have going in there, it's a good thing. But like Brian said, there's a chance for change, and anytime you have change, you lose that institutional knowledge. And that's the point that I want to make here today. It's definitely not because we're against anything that Paul and them are doing, but convention and tourism, once that land is turned over to us and we hand that over to convention and tourism, because that's the process it has to take, then this board has no more say of what happens out there, and we may not even be aware of somebody that puts their hot dog stand out there. So I'm just bringing this up as points of clarification. We're going to kind of dig deeper into the lands bill and how this land is sold to other people and bring it back before you. For the sake of time, maybe we can kind of jump past some of the could-be's and what we may be able to put out there, because I think that's a long ways down the road, and it's just something I want to make sure all of us are aware of, that Paula knows we aren't shooting against her or convention and tourism, that this is, like I say, we added them to the lands bill in pure support, and still are here to support them. But as the more information comes forward, everybody needs to stay apprised of it.
Yeah, exactly. No, I think it's a great idea what
So-
you're working on, Paula, so it's just.
So the other thing to clarify is that we could have done the recreation permit. We could just go down to the BLM if you don't want to carry forward with this, and we could apply for that on our own. The lands bill, it was put in there originally to get it for the land disposal is why we started that direction instead of just going to the BLM. So we are allowed under NRS to be able to go down and do that upon ourselves. And so if this doesn't go through with the lands bill, then our next step is just to take everything that we've worked on and go apply for the recreation permit, which is what we're doing right now, and just do that after the first of the year and do this anyway. We want to work with the county as we're all working towards the same goal, and in doing that, there was some concern with it getting out of hand or everyone not following the same thing. So my idea to fix that problem was the different entities they're putting in. So Lander County would have a person that would sit on the board, our board would have one person, the mines, and the stakeholders in it would sit on the board, and it would be drawn out with those things that are non-competitive, could not be added.
You see our concern. right?
I do,
Now, if you were to go directly to BLM and apply for that recreation permit, you'd be held to the same standards as what Lander County is being held to, right?
Of course,
So
that's,
So then if you were to default, it wouldn't be Lander County taxpayers necessarily holding the ball, right? It would be tourism and convention, how does that?
No, so see, that's when you, then see, here's where the issue comes, is then that's where you get special assessment districts. Say they don't have the money, say it's a $20 million debt that they can only pay $1 million of. Well, now that falls back to the county because they're an extension of us. So then you have special assessments that the community and the members of the community have to pay that debt. So these are just the concerns that, like I said, we wanna make this thing work. We just wanna make sure we make it work. And if there's something, we're supposed to meet with Senator Rosen's office next week. If there's something they can put in there to safeguard us, I think that, this is a no-brainer. You go forward with it. And I think it's a no-brainer either way, but we just need to be cautious of how we put it there, because then later we can dispose of this land to even whether it's a land developer or somebody else.
Yeah, it's just eyes wide open going forward, so.
exactly. And I put a lot of work into this to make sure that I don't want, a facility that was created by our board that puts anything onto the taxpayers. And so that's why I've worked, and put a lot of hours into this project to hit all of those highlights. This isn't something that our board just thought of a couple years ago. I've been working on this for 5 years, and we have a lot of support from the different entities, and we will only build what we have money for. And so as we go along, other things will be added, but with the agreement that if the county wants to be involved or whatever, they're more than welcome to be on here. We can create a separate group for that, or a 501c3, because the last thing I want to do is put our county in debt. And we have been successful with the golf course on that RMPP process, and we followed everything on our behalf. And just like you said, during the years, some people forget that, but we are willing to definitely put in place or set things up so that that doesn't get lost in translation down the road.
Thanks, Paul.
Thank you.
Any more public comment on this?
Hey there, this is Stephanie Walker, Senior Vice President at Porter Group on the line. Can I be recognized?
Hey, you're coming in a little bit muffled,
I'm
but
sorry,
we do
I
hear
can't-
you.
I'm sorry, can you hear me better now?
Not too good.
Oh dear. Here, let me just see about moving. I can hear you guys. How about now?
Yeah, I hear you good. For some reason, our commission sitting where they sit, the microphones must not be as good up there. They don't seem to hear as well, but I think
Oh,
us sitting
okay.
out here can hear you okay.
Okay, maybe you can sort of translate what I'm saying. I know you normally hear from Chris Porter on this. I work very closely with him on this project. I advise on lands projects for Porter Group. I have some answers. I think not all answers, but I have some things, especially from your last meeting, and I've heard them echoed in today's conversation. First and foremost, Senator Rosen's office, her name's Kelly Riddle, who you've been meeting with, is more than happy to present to the commission or meet privately with your county manager and the commissioners as needed to further discuss concerns about violations of RPMP and what can be done to mitigate those concerns. So that is an open door that we can take at any time for you guys. So regarding some of the parcels in particular, we haven't been discussing this particular issue much today, but I know there was a question related to the wells on some of the parcels that are marked for RPMP. They would not violate RPMP. It is definitely public purpose. Even though there could be revenue generated, it would be public. I also wanted to note, I think this is extremely relevant, and I think noted in the last speaker's comments, a nonprofit can be conveyed RPMP land, including something like a historical society, for example, but not limited to, I know I'm working on a particular project elsewhere that is to a nonprofit which does not even have ties to the government. It is just strictly a nonprofit. So I can speak to the process of what happens when a nonprofit or the county, for example, goes to sell RP&P land. So I can first say that it is absolutely done and possible. It's something I'm working on actively. Oh, I'm sorry, did I miss the question?
No, I apologize. I did not catch your name, when this started, but is there any chance, I'm assuming you're from Senator Rosen's office?
No, excuse me, I'm Stephanie Walker. I'm Senior Vice President at Porter Group.
Oh,
I
okay.
work
Sorry,
directly with
Stephanie.
Chris Porter. Yes. No, I think I broke up, so happy to clarify. So I work on a lot of these projects when you are selling from RP&P to a private seller. So I can definitely confirm absolutely possible. The big thing, I think with all things with BLM, is that there is a time factor. So what happens is you do what's called a direct sale, and you do have to do it through the Department of Interior. So there is a process, and if you're familiar with the land process, it's called a notice of realty action. So it is within the realm of the government. It is for public consumption. It has to be posted for 60 days, that kind of thing. These NORA processes are time-consuming. They require a signature from an assistant secretary at the Department of Interior. However, they are manageable. It's not time-consuming in a way that is completely sets up an unclimbable barrier to sale. I would say the other piece, if you're thinking you would ever need to sell an RP&P parcel to a private buyer, is going to be justification. So that sounds daunting, but if that's going to happen, you need to be able to demonstrate, hey, for this reason, this parcel is no longer serving a public good, and it would be better used in a private facility. An example of that might be, this is a completely random example, it's not relevant to your bill necessarily. So let's say you have a park, and somehow next door to the park, someone privately buys the land and puts, let's say, a dump there. So obviously the park is harmed by the dump, and so you need to dispose of the land. Another could be that the land you never find a good use for it. It sits empty. And you can make the argument, with the finances made from the sale, the people of Lander County are better served by that sale than to let this land sit empty. So there's a lot of ways through that. And I went into this kind of detail just to give you as much information as you can to arm you with that information should the future come that you do want to sell a parcel that was conveyed for RP&P. There was a question from one of the commissioners meeting, regarding whether or not the county could purchase land next to conveyed free land that you could use for other development economic activities. Feasibly speaking, the answer to that is yes. We're getting a specific answer from the committee experts on your specific parcels and bills to make sure there wouldn't be some weird reason that that's not true in your specific context. But in the broad context, that is very possible activity. I wanted to give a couple examples of the public use, what you're allowed to use it for. Parks, educational facilities, public health facilities, fire and law enforcement, water sewer, courthouses, state administrative facilities, county administrative facilities, storage, maintenance even, and even public works and extension services. So it's pretty broad. There is a lot to be done there as long as revenue stays circling through the county, which the last speaker spoke to this issue as well. I'm not closely familiar with your lease with the golf course and what happened there, and I don't want to get too much into the detail in the public forum here about that. I will say that I found it highly unusual that there was a negative action taken by the BLM with no record of any communication of violation with the county. So I find it unusual, and I think it deserves more exploration. That being said, those are sort of my comments in terms of the questions that I think I can answer that you brought up today and haven't brought up in the past. but I'm also happy to try and answer any additional questions if you have them. Maybe Bert can relay for us, phone to Mike.
Can somebody just recap what she said, cause I can't hear. If we're gonna have a presentation on the phone, we gotta do something with this sound system, because I feel like I'm at a disadvantage. This isn't working, and it's like, I didn't understand anything she was saying.
Is she from Rosen's office?
No, she is from the Porter Group. She works with Chris Porter, and it's a lot to recap.
Well, just maybe the fine points, I mean, did I catch that we're kind of not following the right track on it?
No, we're following the right track, and much of what Paula said is correct, that a lot of nonprofits can use the ground, and it fits a lot of different areas, and she thinks that there's a lot of room to work within them areas. And so we're really back to similar where we are. I think that we need to meet with Rosen's office. We need to get Porter out here in person and do a proper presentation with the facts and the details to move forward.
And did she make a statement that what was happening with the golf course wasn't that it was odd that it happened that way or something?
Yes, I don't know there's, you know, we were in violation, the BLM did let us know, and so there's some missing detail in there. And so the BLM was just extremely reasonable, knowing that we had this process coming up, and they gave us years to continue the use of it, even in the wrong. So I think our local BLM was really good to us in that regard. So we will get them out here in person so we can wrap that up.
Thank you.
Okay, we need a motion.
I don't know that you necessarily need a motion. You can just move on if you'd like.
We will move on. Technology update from Dan Slentz and his crew.
Morning, Dan.
Morning.
Commissioner, Mr. Chairman, I need to point out that at 10 o'clock, no matter what we're doing, you have to stop and
Start the auction. Okay. At 10 o'clock, did you hear that? 10? Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir. I notice you have a very long agenda, so I'll be as quick as possible through this presentation and be respectful of your time. Thank you for having a chance to sit down with you folks today. We've been working with you for the record, Dan Slentz, owner, president of Oasis Online. We've been working with you folks for just under a year now, getting things situated here, and so it has been a lot of fun getting to know each of you and getting to know the county here. We've had a long history here in the county. We started back in 2007 here with the school district, and at that time, I think Commissioner Clark might have been a trustee Clark at that point on the school board, so that was kind of fun to see him as well. So I just want to give you guys a quick history of Oasis Online, just so you kind of know where we're at and what we do, and then we can go from there. So. This is just like a technology guy not to have his technology work. There we go. If you can just start the slideshow up there at the top. Go to slideshow. There we go. Thank you, sir. And can you advance that for me as we go along? Go ahead. So, well, like I said, we started in October of 1997 is when we opened our doors there in Fallon. Folks ask why Oasis Online, and that's because we started out as an internet service provider. Back when the internet was the new thing, and America Online was still happening, if you guys remember that. And then in 2002, we were asked to do some cybersecurity audit for Churchill County School District, and so we went in and did some auditing for them, and through some changes and things, we started doing they wound up outsourcing their technology department to us in 2004. And And then, like I said, in 2007, we added Lander County School District to our growing base. And so today, this is Oasis Online today. We actually serve 6 school districts, 2 counties, 2 cities, and a multitude of small businesses throughout northern Nevada, doing everything from the networking and printer jams and things like that, all the way up to firewalls and servers and making sure that everything is running smooth. So we are definitely blessed. It kind of puts us in a unique position to be able to look across multiple public entities and gather knowledge from all the different situations that they might be in, and be able to bring that knowledge here, and maybe help to not have to necessarily think through or research or do things like that, because the research has already been done. We can just go forward with whatever product it is or whatever we need to do there. So kind of a neat thing. So as soon as we began working with you folks, we started a help desk, or opened up the help desk to you, and this is how it looks. To the folks who are logging in, they can also send a ticket to support@oasisol.com, an email, and that will automatically open a ticket for them. Once we receive that ticket, then we go ahead and we assign it to whoever our specialist is for whatever that ticket might be. So a lot of the tickets might go to Nico, because Nico is our on-site technician here who's here every day. Tickets might also go to Matt. Matt's homegrown Lander County guy that we advanced through the ranks here. He used to work for the school district, and now he's up in the networking aspect of Oasis Online and lives in Fallon with us at our headquarters. So depending on what the problem is, it'll go to whoever it needs to go to. So one of the interesting thing is on any given day, folks see Nico a lot, but on any given day and every day, you have several other people who are actually working in the county here. We may be doing it remotely, going into the servers, doing different things like that, but you have an entire team backing you of 18 individuals who, if we get behind on tickets, we can send more help desk technicians, different things like that, to try and make sure that we're giving you the best service that we possibly can. So I wanted to give you a quick rundown of some statistics on the help tickets. We closed 205 help tickets in the last 11 months. And currently we have 9 open help tickets on the help desk for you folks. That number is probably going to increase. I anticipate that to get larger, because when we first start with an organization, a lot of folks aren't necessarily used to putting in help tickets, and they'll come to Nico's office and grab him and do things, and Nico's a busy guy. Sometimes he doesn't put in those tickets. So our hope is that as we progress, folks get used to using that help desk, and we'll see those numbers rise and that workload go up. And the reason that the help tickets are so important is because on this next slide, you'll see that we actually track the trends that are happening across there. It's kind of small, but that will actually tell us how many tickets are for new equipment, how many tickets are for login, how many tickets are for emails, so that we're able to kind of track trends and be able to say, well, maybe we have something going on with email that we need to look at, or maybe we have something going on with the server that we need to look at, because we're getting several tickets based on that. And so that's one of the main reasons that we like to make sure that those tickets are being filled out and being done correctly. And then whenever we're done with a ticket, we send out a survey to folks, just asking, how was our attitude, how was our response time, how was our technical knowledge, and was your problem resolved on the first visit? We had 5 of those feedback forms turned in over the last 5 years, and so we have 100% excellent to outstanding. It's a 1 to 5 scale, and so 100% of the people said that we did excellent to outstanding. I anticipate that to change as well as more people fill out those feedback forms, and also realize that we do read those. Every single one of them that comes in, we read, we look at, and we'll respond to the folks who, if they don't feel like that we're doing a good job. So, and try and make changes there. These were some of the comments that folks put on their feedback as well, just to, and they were not altered in any way before we give them to you. So, feels like we're doing pretty good. So I also wanted to talk a little bit about, because outside of the tickets, we also have projects that we're accomplishing for you folks. We'll kind of go through this pretty quickly. I'm not going to go through each one of these projects, but we have been working a lot, lots of time just in discovery and trying to find where things are at, what things are done, putting things into documentation, making sure that we're getting maps of our network, make sure we're getting our passwords put away, all the configurations and things like that are all put into documentation. Just so you know, our philosophy at Oasis Online is to try to make it as easy as possible for you to quit us if you need to. If we're not the right fit, then we want to be able to hand you a book with all the documentation, with all the information, and you can give it to your new folks, and they're going to be able to hit the ground running. We want there not to be a hiccup if ever you decide not to go with us. Of course, we want you to go with us, but we will always want to make sure that you're in the best place to do what you need to do as a county. Some of the future projects we're looking to maybe put some fiber in Austin between the courthouse and the fire department and get just some different links there. There's going to be some things that we're going to need to discuss in the future about policy adoption. I noticed Mr. Call is here from PullPack, and I saw he was on the agenda. So some of those policies we need to put into place, make sure that we have our data breach response policy and disaster recovery plans, things like that. So those are all things that we'll be discussing probably over this next year to make sure that we're getting things squared away and crossing our T's and dotting our I's. So of course, one of the big things that is on everyone's radar right now is cybersecurity and ransomware attacks and all the different things like that, the bad guys that are out there on the internet. So these are the top trends of 2022. I'm going to focus in on 3 of those for us because these are the 3 that we feel like are probably what we're going to hone in the most on this year for the county. So the first one is the attack surface expansion. You know, with COVID and the way that things were shut down and things like that, it's brought to the forefront the ability for people to be mobile and be able to go different places and have mobile meetings and different things like that. So that has, of course, increased that attack surface that is available to the bad guys. Where we have people working from home, working from remote locations, and so we need to hone in on that attack surface expansion and make sure that we're watching all of that and making sure that we're secure across the boards, whether people are working from home, working remotely in remote offices, or right here in the county as well. The second trend that we're really focusing in on is what's called a digital supply chain risk. I won't bore you with the details of it, but I will say that, you know, spies used to try to get into the White House and go that route. Now these bad guys get into the software companies and they plant these back doors into the software, and then that gets distributed out to all of us, and then that vulnerability is then used at that point to work through the back door. And so that happened this last year with a large government company called SolarWinds, or government vendor, SolarWinds, and they released a patch very quickly, but nevertheless it showed us that we need to be careful not only of what's coming in from the outside, but also from what's inside of the software itself. And then the third trend that we're really honing in on is the beyond awareness piece. That's based on the fact that the human factor is always going to be the one factor that we can't necessarily control in IT. We can build firewalls, we can do all these great things, but that human factor of somebody picking up the phone, maybe giving out their password, clicking on a link inside of an email, those kinds of things are the things that are involved in beyond awareness. And so, once again, PullPack, I know you folks are with them now. They have excellent programs that we can leverage and are leveraging with KnowBe4 and doing the phishing campaigns, helping you folks to be more educated on what's going on. Also, Tony Ricci, their cybersecurity expert, very good guy, worked very closely with him in lots of our different entities, and he comes in and does testing. We take those results and then go out and make sure that we make the appropriate changes to make sure that we're as secure as possible. And we also, in and of ourselves, try and attack the county ourselves. So we will, from the outside, try and check for vulnerabilities, see if we can get in, and constantly doing that on a periodic basis to make sure that we're as safe as we can possibly be as a county. And so, there you go. That's the presentation for you, and I'm open for any questions that you might have.
I remember hiring you back in '07
Yes, sir.
when I was on the school board because we had one person taking care of it. It just got too big. We needed more, and I haven't heard any complaints about Oasis Online,
Thank
even
you.
with your help.
Thank you so much.
It's cool to see this guy and Dominguez, you know, Donnie, all these guys went through school.
Yes.
That's really cool.
And we really do try to hire from within the community and make sure that we're bringing up folks that are going to be, that enjoy being here and want to be here long-term, because we want them long-term, so.
Any questions? Public comment? Okay, we take a 5-minute break, but we will start right at 10 o'clock.
Thank you, appreciate it. Sure. Okay.
We good? Public hearing and auction, the Lander County Board of County Commissioners will conduct a public hearing to sell real property by auction pursuant NRS 244.282, parentheses 2, NRS 244.282, parentheses 3, and Resolution 2022-03. All sealed bids which have been received must be opened in public session, examined and declared by the board. The county commissioners will ascertain if bids conform to all terms and conditions specified in the resolution and if they are made by responsible bidders. Before accepting any written bid, the board shall call for oral bids. A responsible person may offer to buy the real property upon terms and conditions specified in the resolution for a price exceeding by at least 5% the highest bid. The board may either make a final acceptance of the highest bid or reject any and all bids and withdraw the real property from sale if the board deems such action to be in the best public interest. This is an action item.
So, Mr. Chairman, first you need to collect the bids they've given. If the clerk would give them to you, then you open them, you declare them.
I got 3 bids.
One at a time, Commissioner. One at a time.
Okay, first bid is from Honeywell. To whom it may concern, I, Lauren Honeywell, on behalf of H.E. Honeywell Construction Company, Inc., and Frank Sullivan, would like to submit the bid for the 79.82 acre parcel of land located southwest intersection of Little Cottonwood Canyon and State Highway 305, Lander County, Battle Mountain, about 89820, with APN 010-430-32. We would like to submit a bid in the amount of $40,000.
Mr. Commissioner, could you please declare on the record that you find that Honeywell is a responsible bidder?
Oh, yeah, I find that Honeywell is a responsible
Thank you.
party. Okay. I'm Maria J. Garretta, managing member of El Asante LLC, a Nevada limited liability company, wish to place a sealed bid for Lander County Resolution 2022-03 for sale of 79.82 acres, APN 010430032. Legal description, all that certain real property statute lying and being in the county of Lander, state of Nevada, and more particularly described as follows. Parcel A of a certain parcel map of Nevada Lands and Resource Company LLC, the Nevada Liability Company lying within a portion of Section 18, Township 31, North Range 44 East, MDB and M recorded in the office of the Lander County Recorder on September 23rd, 1998 under file number 209096, Lander County, Nevada. The bid is placed in a sealed envelope to be delivered, to be open the 23rd, 2022. And the bid is $50,222.
And who was the bidder? I didn't catch the name.
It's Maria J. Garretta, G-A-E-T-A, Getta. It's a management company.
Are they present?
Yes, I am.
Okay, then you need to do two things. You need to ask questions to ascertain whether or not they're a responsible bidder and whether they agree to the terms. The terms will be cash with the transaction to close within 60 days. Those are the terms. So ascertain whether they're a responsible bidder and then if they agree to the terms.
Okay, so, I am,
Come on up, Jeff.
So Maria J. Diana.
Just hit the green.
What is that, I'm sorry?
Yeah, push it down.
right there.
There we go. Okay. Maria J. Gaeta, managing member of El Asante LLC. I live in Elko, Nevada. I am a realtor, also an investor. I understand the terms, cash with a 60-day close.
Okay. I think that's responsible. And third bid. Dan and Eddie Ann Filippini, Max and Jordan Filippini, Hank S. Filippini. Okay, June 22nd, resolution 2022-03 bid on APN 010-43032, Lander County Board of Commissioners, Dan and Eddie Filippini, Max and Jordan Filippini, and Hank S. Filippini submit a bid of $37,000 for the 79.82 acres of land, APN 010-43032.
Again, you need on the record to find that they are
I
responsible.
can't hear that.
You need to find on the record that they're responsible if they're willing to
Right.
follow the terms.
Yeah, I find that the Filippini's bid is from responsible people.
Okay, now,
What's the bid?
now, I believe you said the bid was $37,000?
37
Okay, so the highest bid so far has been
Is-
$50,222?
You got them back there?
Can I have those back? Okay.
So,
So we have 3 written bids.
right,
And now we call for oral bids.
Right, and the oral bid, the first oral bid has to be 5% over the highest written bid. And then each succeeding bid doesn't have to add another 5%, just the first one has to be 5% over.
I'm waiting for JR to. So, the highest bid is the 50,222. And now if there's any oral bids, it has to be $5,000 more, or 5% more than the 5222. So we're now open for an auction, Ted?
Yeah, let's find what that amount has to be.
37. 5022. Pretty well.
So it has to be increased by $2,510.01.
It has to be higher than that for the 5%.
Has to be the 50,222 plus an additional 2,510.
It has to be the 50 plus that.
Oh, the 50,222, yeah, yeah.
Plus 2,501 cent?
2510.
So that'd make, we'd have to have a bid for $52,732.01.
Yeah, would have to have a bid for that. It's 2,730.
Right.
Okay, I'm gonna call for a bid.
Oral bids, open up oral bids.
Open up oral bids.
Any oral bids?
Okay, I don't hear any oral bids. I need a motion.
So just to make sure I understand this correct, we can accept or we can
Yes.
take it off the table? Those are our two options?
Yes. You can accept or take it off the table, that's the highest bid. And you found out that they were responsible and that they're willing to follow our terms. I believe you did that on the record, didn't you?
The only reason I asked that, Kathy, is just because it states it here, I just wanted to verify it. The board may either make a final acceptance of the highest bid or reject any and all bids and withdraw the real property from sale if the board deems such action to be in the best interest of public interest.
So my question is why, would we put it out, why would we put this out for bid and then reject all bids? If it's, how is it deemed in the not in the interest? That doesn't make any sense to me, to put it out for bid and then not accept bids.
You asked me that question? You found that it's in the Commissioners, you found in prior resolution that it's in the best interest of Lander County to sell this property at auction. Therefore, you would have to find that it is in the best interest of Lander County to not sell this property at auction if you so do that. But that's what you'd have to make that finding.
All right, well, maybe we'll make the motion that we accept the 50,200, the highest bid.
The
I don't have the paperwork confirming that.
$50,222.
Commission, I don't know that we can take a bid that's below the appraised value, and I don't recall what the appraised value was, so just make sure that we look at that appraised value.
I thought the appraised value was,
32,000.
yes, 32,000 plus the 4,637 in the associated costs.
Okay,
The
okay, I just
ter-
wanted to be
yes,
sure of that.
For the record, the terms are $36,637, which includes 32,000 appraisal, land value, and $4,637 in associated costs. And the terms are cash with the transaction to close within 60 days.
Okay.
And the bid far exceeds that,
Yeah,
over the
so
far
I
exceeds,
would
but
make a
it
motion
exceeds that
that,
amount.
that we accept the bid for the Maria J. Loretta, management, member of I'm not gonna say the name right, Ostia LLC as the highest bidder. Is that a correct motion?
Well, yeah, is
Okay,
that,
well, just make sure, because I've never done that before, and I wanna make sure,
I hate to put Ted on the spot, but is it legal to sell a parcel without any access?
Well, that's gonna be my question. If we sell it, how is it going to affect our current business holders that are there? Or all people that hold land there now? And can that be reasoned in the best interest? Because it's in the best interest of Lander County, or is it in the best,
it's best interest of Lander County.
okay?
So if you have any questions as far as zoning, I can't answer those right now. I have no idea. I didn't, wasn't asked to, nor did I look into that.
well, I would have thought that those would have been questions that we would have had, any of those issues figured out before we would put land up for sale that had no access. I mean, that's just my assumption. Why would we put it up for auction if they had no access?
I don't know. I'll ask you that question. I don't know if it has any legal access or not. From my office, I did not look into that.
Well, and you weren't asked that.
I know
understand
that.
and I
So
respect
I
that.
can't answer
But
the
I
question,
would assume-
Commissioner,
Unfortunately-
I can't answer that question, is what I'm saying.
Unfortunately, I would have assumed that when we would have put that out for bid, that regardless of who bidded on it, that we would have access to
The
it.
statute does say, the board may either at the same session or at an adjourned session of the same meeting held within the next 10 business days, make a final acceptance of the highest bid or reject any and all bids, either written or oral, and withdraw the real property from sale if the board deems such action to be best for the public interest. So you may adjourn this part of this session and have your people, county manager, look into that question if you have a
Well,
question.
and well, too, in all honesty, I mean, I thought we've already deemed that it was in the best interest, that's why we put it up for sale.
Right,
That's
So
what I-
we have an auction, we have a high bid,
right.
and it's
Yeah.
like, so I was just trying to clarify the verbiage, I didn't understand why it was on there.
Uh-huh.
So, did you make a motion?
Yeah, I made the motion to accept,
I'll second the motion.
all right?
I mean, if I'm understanding everything correct,
Yeah,
I mean,
I
we've
would
already
hope that-
deemed
all
it
that-
in the best interest, that's why we put it up for sale.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody had an opportunity to bid on it.
Right. That's
Kathy made the motion, Brian seconded, do we have any public comment? No public comment, I'll call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously. And now we'll go back to yeah, we'll go back to number 4. Dan's here, yeah, okay. For discussion, possible action to approve, disapprove the interlocal contract for detention refocus program for Lander County juveniles between Elko County Juvenile Probation, and Lander County Juvenile Probation. Good morning, Dan.
Good morning, everyone. Dan Baldini for the
Thank you
record.
All your years of doing this, too. I want to thank you, here.
Oh, No.
I want to thank you for all your years of service then.
Well, it's always like coming before the principal when I see your faces, so. Dan Baldini for the record, Chief Juvenile Probation Officer. What you have before you is an interlocal agreement that's similar to the agreement we're in for detention services in Elko. District Attorney Herrera, after a couple rewrites of this, helped it out, and we finalized this. So you have the final interlocal agreement before you, and also attached to your packet there is a brief outline of what's going on in this. And as the Chief Probation Officer, and we're gonna go into this in the next thing, but when COVID hit China Springs, you couldn't send anybody there. So Heather Plager, the chief of Elko County in charge of the Northeastern Nevada Detention Center, in collaboration with her county, developed this detention refocus program. And so it's kind of like an intermediate step between me sending a young man or a young lady to Aurora Pines or China Springs, that we want to maybe try to get their attention in a 30-day program offering them mental health services, forward thinking, life skills, and all of that for a 30-day program. It's similar, when we were in the sixth, it's similar to the ASAP program, where we felt the kid might benefit from a little detention time. And the best thing about this, and negotiating this with Elko County, is that it's only for $100 a day, not $300 a day. So there's a savings there for us. Certainly if a young man or a young lady is in detention pending their placement here, that is for $300 a day. But if ordered into the program, the cost to us would be $100 a day. And I'm not asking for any money up front. I believe the budget that you guys give me in Lander County for detention services will cover this accordingly. And so what's before you is just your agreement that the interlocal agreement, you guys are gonna agree for us to go into that agreement with Elko County.
So Dan, are you involved in that 30 days too with the?
Oh, yes, whichever officer that commits the child, the young man or the young lady, is certainly going to be involved in the programming. And one of the things that's gonna be really stressed from us is the educational component. So if it's during school year, then my officers are going to be called upon to assure that this youth, young man or young lady, is gonna get their education too. All the other services are part of the program, and kind of a combination of what the cost of the program is for it, if that answers your question.
Commissioners, this is a very good program, and probably the best part of this that hasn't been mentioned yet is that you don't have to find new money for this contract. It's coming out of their budget that's already been established and approved by the commission.
And the budget you guys give me is very accommodating for me, so. I'm always looking for new alternatives, and this really came across, and that's what's before you today.
Is everybody all right to move forward?
Ready for a motion?
I'll make a vote to approve the interlocal.
Can I say one thing? I've learned in my other two commissioners, because I have 3 sets of commissioners to go through, that it requires 2 original copies. And I only have 1 original copy that Elko County's requesting back. I've learned my lesson, everybody. But I do have the original for Elko, and I'm wondering, is that going to be okay to have a copy of this for Lander County? So that I can send the original back to it.
Well, if we do that, we won't have an original.
Why can't we just make a copy and do 2 originals?
Original to record, right?
Yes.
I can always contact Elko. I have another copy. We could put our originals on it, and I can always contact Elko to do that. It's a problem. Both Mineral and Pershing County both kind of let me slide on it, but that's why I brought it to your guys' attention, because I wanted to do it right. It's something that I've learned.
The only thing that has to be original is our signatures, right?
Right.
So, I mean, we're okay. We
Okay,
copy that,
okay.
and we'll do signatures for us.
So I have this ready for Mr. Clark, and Mrs. Gonzalez. This is the original that I'll send back to her.
Okay, but what I'm saying is, if we copy that before we sign it,
Then you'll
then
have-
we can sign.
Okay,
Yes.
perfect.
And then we can record it, and we're fine with that.
Okay, perfect.
Okay.
Exactly.
Did you start to make a motion?
Yes, she did.
So, I'll go to approve the interlocal contract for the detention refocus program for Lander County juveniles between Elko County Juvenile Probation, and Lander County Juvenile Probation.
I'll second the motion.
You second that?
Yes, I did.
Kathy made a motion, Brian second. Public comment. All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks, Nick. Okay, number 7, for discussion and possible action to approve, disapprove resolution 20.
Number 5, excuse me.
Number 5.
Well, Dan's still here.
I'm still
Oh,
here.
okay.
Dan Baldini for the record, Chief Juvenile Probation Officer.
For discussion, possible action, approve, disapprove one-time emergency funding for China Springs Youth Camp for FY 22-23 in the amount of $3,237.
Just little history here. It was just brought to my attention on June 13th at a advisory board meeting in which I sit on for China Springs, this letter that's in your packet that's before you. That was sent out to the directors, county commissioners, participating counties that have a collaborative agreement with China Springs. And if I can draw your attention to the second paragraph of the letter, rather than going into the history myself, it's pretty self-explanatory. The state's cutting China Springs' budget. And because of the shortfalls, instead of the state has agreed not to just assess the shortfalls to the counties, but allow the counties to consider trying to reach those shortfalls with an emergency funding amount. All right? Kathy was, I believe when the China Springs originally started having issues and the state started pulling money, she was involved in that. And since COVID, over the last year and a half, 2 years, I've been in a China Springs meeting twice a week, every other week since, and I'm still attending those, trying to resolve this. China Springs closed the boys' side during COVID. They've reopened with a limited amount of beds because they need the funding. They can't fund it. So this letter is requesting that the counties consider giving them that extra $3,200. The negatives to it, the last time that Lander County has used China Springs was probably my last youth. I believe Officer Castellanos was working for us, was in 2018, and he was discharged in 2019. Since that time, I have not used China Springs. Nevertheless, you're spending $17,000, let me get the right number.
747.
Yeah, that's your contribution regardless as a collaborative member of China Springs.
Well, the bottom line is, if we need it, it's there. So, and all the counties are taking part in the percentage that we are assessed. But my concern was, it says that all the counties are represented on the working group, and you are part of the working group.
I am part of that.
We are represented, but I couldn't believe it when I saw the date on the letter of April, and it was supposed to have been done by June 1st to give to the taxation.
That's what brought it to my attention.
And I'm going, where has this letter been?
It was sent.
And even though we missed the deadline.
Right. Mhm. Well, I mean, we can still agree to it, or you can disagree to it. It's not gonna, if you guys disagree to it, it's not gonna impact my ability to place a youth there. But in agreeing to it, it shows Lander County's commitment to the program.
Well, we do have a commitment, I mean, there's no question about it, of what we do and what we have to do. And yes, we've been very fortunate that we haven't had a whole lot of juveniles that we've had to send to Elko, but a whole lot to China Springs. But that doesn't mean that we still don't need to pay our part. So I'm okay with that. I guess I'm concerned about why they would send a letter in April and nobody follow up with us, and then tell you, or blindside you, at a meeting going, is Lander gonna pay their?
Well, I don't know that I was blindsided by it. Maybe I just didn't bring it to your attention when I could have brought it to your attention. So, and in looking at the counties, the 16 counties, just for your knowledge, Washoe County has agreed, Carson City, Humboldt, Mineral County has agreed, Esmeralda, Nye, Douglas counties. Those counties have all agreed to their contribution in the emergency. Counties that have denied or are not agreeing is Lincoln County. And at this time, there's still Elko, Churchill, Lyon, White Pine, Eureka, Pershing and Lander, and Story counties that are still where I am at today with you.
Was Lincoln's denial, what was the reason on the record? Was it just because they didn't ever
Probably
use it?
funding,
Oh, funding.
probably money, budgets to do
So
that.
this $3,237 would be in excess of what we've already had.
It would be on
budgeted for.
top of the 17,000, and
Yeah, this is called a voluntary.
emergency.
Yeah, it's in addition to what was agreed upon, that's right,
As opposed to a mandate, which 17,000 is a mandate.
right.
That's a state assessed mandate.
And that, before I forget, and the reason that the state didn't assess it because of the issues that were, I think, the issues that came with it, now all the issues that they were having, because I wasn't on all of the meetings. And so that's what I wanna make sure before I vote on this, or all of those, issues corrected? Because that's the reason why the state.
It's an ongoing struggle for China Springs right now to keep fully staffed. Actually, right now, they are considering, because of the limited, there's like one girl in Aurora Pines, and they're trying to staff that 24 hours. They're considering doing programming with the females and the boys. I don't know if I'm okay with that as the chief of probation or on the advice. I have some concerns about that. But they have people resigning and leaving, and they actually interviewed 12 people last week and maybe got 6 out of it. So they're having issues with staffing, and limitations on the bed right now for the boys' side is 20. I can tell you in the district, I got a kid committed from Pershing County immediately, you know what I mean? So there's really no delay, but it's up to you. I mean, using it one time since 2018
Yeah, exactly.
is what you gotta consider. But if you look at it cost-wise, the $20,000 is probably, if you kind of gauge it at $300 a day, you're paying for 2 months and a half. But if we place a kid there, his average stay is gonna be 4 to 6 months, and the rest of the counties pick that up.
And I respect that. I
Right.
still struggle though, we pay the money out, we don't utilize it, and it goes blown into the wind because they still are having the problems of
Right.
not having any staff. So it's just going to operations without staff and eat that money up, and that's why the legislature did not mandate it, because of that issue.
And in agreement with the county saying, okay, we won't mandate it, you guys come up with a solution. And then there's a working group with NACO and the chiefs, and then there's a chiefs working group. So everybody's kind of collaborating and really working to try to fix it. Because China Springs is really a good program, and it has been for years. And that's where we're at. And it's really a decision that lies on you. I'm kind of a fence guy.
You can't really have an opinion, you just have to present it. Well, I'm just wondering, if all these people weren't working and they can't get people to work, why are they short?
Yeah, exactly.
They've been having problems with
Yeah, we just keep funding a
Yes.
failing
Co-
thing.
COVID really impacted it.
Well, I think it's a small amount in addition to still have it there, and I do think we still need to pay our portion. Fortunately, it's not a whole lot of money for us, and I think we still have it in the budget so that we can do that, so
I believe in my state pass-through mandate budget that covers the youth parole, the money's in there. The $3,200 is in there.
one-time emergency funding for China Springs Youth Camp.
It would come out of the juvenile, it could come out of the juvenile budget for the state pass-through mandates is where you could access. You guys, I believe the amount is $50,000 and that rolled over to next year. And I'm really, you guys are pulling out of there for these programs for the juvenile department.
Okay, I'm gonna finish my motion.
Okay, I apologize.
That we approved the one-time emergency funding for China Spring Youth Camp for the fiscal year 22-23 in amount not to exceed $3,237.
I'll second it as long as it comes out of, my second would be out of that fund, coming out of that funding. Can I do that? Can I say that or not, since she's made the original?
Well, she's gonna have to say that,
Okay.
so.
State pass-through mandates.
Okay, that it comes out of the,
Juvenile department's budget, state
Juvenile
pass-through
department's budget.
mandates.
I mean, I know it's a small amount, but the way I look at it, it's like, we don't like unfunded mandates, and that's kind of what it is. And it's like, now they're asking for more, and we're paying more to a program that's kind of from, if I'm hearing right, it's not doing very well. So, I mean, I'm not in favor of this for those reasons, but.
My comment is this, last meeting, we got $27 million in net proceeds of mines money. Traditionally, the $6,660,000 that went to the state instead of going to the school district disappears like that. So they continually take, and take. I'm not in favor of this.
I mean, if it was something we would utilize, Danny, I think I might have a different take on it, but just based on the facts presented, I can't support it, so that's my opinion.
Yeah, I can't either. So, any public comment?
I'll make a public comment.
Come on up.
Since Dan brought up the example that the last kid went was probably my kid. Noya Castellanos for the record. I can tell you that kid, when he went, he was a success. So there is positive to the program when we do use it. Obviously only once in 4 years, though, is probably not great. But when they do go, the product is what we're looking for anyways.
The end result
Yeah.
has been beneficial to the youth. He now resides in Colorado, I believe, but
So if Lander County doesn't pay it, what are the negative sides of it?
I don't think there is a negative side,
Yeah, exactly.
Mr. Sparks. I really don't, it's just that we're not going to pay it. Is there an alternative? For me, perhaps there's an alternative for me to maybe assist through my detention fund. I can find alternatives to that.
I mean, because realistically, they could change the rules of the game and increase the.
And then you're gonna pay
and
for it
you're gonna
anyway,
pay
yeah.
That's what I'm saying, at least we have a choice.
You do
And
have a
that's all-
choice.
And that's all I'm saying, is I'm exercising my choice based on the facts that were presented, that's, yeah, so.
Okay, so, any more public comment? There's a motion on the floor, I'll call for a vote, all in favor?
aye.
Against? Nay. Nay. JR?
Nay.
Motion fails. No money for China Springs. It'll take 10 minute break.
I appreciate your guys' time, thank you.
Okay. What do I do with these bids? Number 7, for discussion and possible action to approve, disapprove, resolution 2022-06, placing an advisory question on the November 22 general election ballot regarding the modification or repealing the discharge of firearms in an unincorporated areas of Lander County between 1 hour after sunset and a half hour before sunrise, and all other matters properly related thereto. So, this came forward a while back, and the commission decided decided to put it out to the voters in November. So, anybody have anything?
I will have a question. So once this, so this is gonna go on the ballot, right? So then if it passes, does it have to come back to us?
It's just an advisory
It's
question.
advisory, it doesn't have to do anything.
Okay, I just make sure I
There's no
understand.
passing.
There's no passing of anything.
You are putting this on the ballot to get advice from the citizens of Lander County, period.
Okay.
We wanted their input. Okay, I see.
I did get a call from, one of our ranchers, Mr. Tamara today, and his only concern with it, and I told him I would voice it, and I think Paula might speak to it as well, is that on the argument against the passage, he just wanted to, make it known that these guns that, he said, yes, the night optics are great, you're looking at a coyote at 250, 300 yards, you can clearly see, but he says a lot of the guns that are used to, shoot these animals can reach a mile or more, and that's what his concern was, and he felt that people, needed to know that segment of it, so.
And Sean Narledge contacted me and, wanted me to state that it's, although those weapons, they're the scopes, so make sure, the scopes can see, the majority of people can't afford them, and you're gonna have people out there shooting without the scopes, and those are concerns of theirs, that ranching family, so I just wanted to make sure he contacted me and I wanted to pass that on as well.
But I think the resolution as a whole, I mean, I thought it was pretty well written, so.
Yeah, I think it was balanced. You're always gonna have irresponsible people, no matter what.
Morning.
Good morning. My name is Katie Annis for the record, and I have my notes right here.
You would have to open public comment?
Oh,
It hasn't been opened yet?
Okay, I'll wait.
Public comment.
Oh, okay. And I am a part owner of the Joseph L. Company.
Of the what?
Joseph L. Company out in Buffalo Valley. And a few things. First, understanding that it's just an advisory question is huge for me, that then it would come back to you guys. I think that my question is, how would the people who would be shooting at nighttime, how is that considered a sport, really, I guess, night hunting? How will it be enforced, given the fact that the Joseph L. Company owns close to 2,000 acres in Lander County? How will these people know whether they're on my private property or on unincorporated lands? Who will monitor that?
You know, I understand your questions, and when we had this on before, and we did quite in-depth.
Oh, okay, okay.
No, that's okay, because, I mean, it's important. But today, what we're looking at is the wording on the ballot.
Oh, okay, so is there?
That's all. So have you read that? Because if you have input on the wording, if you want us to add something else.
Is
or-
there I don't have a copy of the wording. Is
Okay,
it?
the one right in front of you, that big book,
Oh, geez.
Here,
go to number
Katie,
7.
you can just have mine, I've read
Okay.
it, yeah. There you go.
Okay, well, how about if I just read this and then if I can give you
Okay,
input?
just sit there and read that while we're.
Okay, great,
That's
great,
fine.
okay.
But that's what we're looking for, is the wording that we're putting on the ballot.
I get it, I
for the
get it.
input, yeah.
Okay,
What she means by the wording, there's an argument for passage and an argument against passage. That's what people are debating. So the county commissioners today can decide if those arguments need to be modified
gotcha.
or changed in any way, and they can be. That's why it's here now.
The whole point of the for and against is to have a fair explanation to the tax
To the
base.
public.
That might not, exactly,
Yes.
that doesn't necessarily, might not know the issues, they can read it and get a summation of like, okay, these are the pros, these are the cons, and we just wanna make sure that we're fair in that.
And for the record, these arguments were taken from the transcript of the hearing we had, of the meeting we had here.
Okay,
There were a bunch of people here there were some people for it and some people against it. I got the transcript and I took all the arguments and put it in here.
Okay.
If anyone has other arguments, they're more than happy today to put those forth, and the commissioners can decide if they want to add that or not.
okay. Well, I was probably teaching school at your last meeting. So I didn't.
Well, I'm just explaining how the process.
Paul, come on up, please.
Just Paula Tamura for the record, just a quick question, can you read the for and against passage, to everyone here, so we know what it is?
I
The
give mine to
arguments?
Katie, so
Oh,
can
here,
somebody
here.
read theirs?
You can have it.
If you just read it out loud.
Read it out loud.
Thank you.
Just the arguments?
Yeah.
Paul,
Yes.
the arguments? Okay. Yes vote. A yes vote advises the Lander County Board of Commissioners that the voter is in favor of modifying or repealing Lander County Code 916010. No vote. A no vote advises Lander County Board of Commissioners that the voter is against to change the Lander County Code 916010.
So argument for passage,
Technology has advanced to the point that with advanced night optics and thermal imaging, it makes shooting at night safe. Using these technologies, the shooter can discern between a cow, coyote, or domestic animal. Coyotes are nocturnal animals, and by allowing night shooting, it enhances predator control. By allowing organized coyote tournaments at night, you can bring money into the county, providing sources of income to local businesses for food, snacks, fuel, and lodging. This is the citizens' rights issue, and legal gun ownership should have the freedom to hunt at night in a safe, organized manner. Argument against passage. The ordinance was originally enacted for public safety purposes to protect the safety of humans, animals, and property. Ranchers and farmers have a real and valid concern that it is their property that will suffer the consequences of allowing night shooting. Their cattle, horses, domestic animals, and family members will be put at risk from people who have no regard for their property or well-being.
and then, one more sentence on the second page, Art.
Even though technology has advanced with night optics and thermal imaging, it's very costly. So what happens is this goes to the voters make a decision, and then it comes back to the commission for final approval. So,
Not necessarily. Just like it says in the next sentence, it's advisory. The result of the voting on this question does not place any legal requirement on the Lander County Board of Commissioners or any officer of Lander County. You don't necessarily have to take it up.
oh, you don't even have to take it up.
We just thought it would be fair, since there were some pros and, or fors and against, to see what the Lander County felt about it, right? Is why we went down that road.
Right, right. But it seems like you're kind of limiting on the argument against passage, because I've had people that I spoke to that are campers, and they're concerned with the same thing, when people are shooting and they're out camping in all kinds of areas, especially around our hot ponds and Spencer's and such, and the way that the bullets travel, and I'm sorry, I know the people that go to the extra cost of having their thermal equipment and everything are probably better, more accurate shooters than people that are not. But the point is, people still miss, and depending what kind of bullets you've got, those babies go for a long time. So I hate to limit it just to the ranchers, because it's people that are out on all of our property, campers and RVers and people around the hot springs and stuff, that are concerned about someone shooting at night, and they're worried that they might be at risk.
Well, the intention of today is to get any possible language that you want to add to it.
Well, I'd like another sentence on there, I guess is what I'm saying.
That's where I'm getting to. If you'd like to modify it in any way, please.
I do, I want to add something in there about the people that are camping on our public lands.
What do you want to add about it?
Well, let's see, how would we want to read that? Ranchers and farmers have a valid concern.
Do you want to just add ranchers, farmers, and,
Recreational.
The recreational.
and all, I mean, it doesn't matter to
The
me.
recreational
You just tell me what to
projects.
add, and I'll add it, see what I'm saying.
And the recreational users of the public land.
I mean, those arguments weren't made at our last hearing, so I had no transcript to.
That's okay, yeah, we can say that.
Paula Tamara for the record. And on the last sentence, even though technology has advanced with night optics and thermal imaging is very costly, and maybe add something in there that their field of view is 200 yards and that they can see accurately for those animals. But if they miss their target, that bullet can go anywhere from 1 mile to 2 miles, and you can't see in that field of vision where it would go in that extra distance. So it just, you know, on the ranch's behalf, we're against it like we had said before, but we need to add a little bit extra in there to reiterate that even though there are those people are responsible hunters, they cannot accurately say where that bullet goes if it does not hit their target during that period. So, and 1,000 to 2,000 additional feet is, or miles, is, could be human, could be cattle, could be property, could be camping, anything. So maybe adding something to the effect that, you know, you don't know what happens if it doesn't hit your target. You can't say with 100% certainty that it stays within that. And if you were hunting in the day, you would be able to see the other targets around there.
Thank you. With that added, those two added verbiages, other than that, anybody else?
Did you get that information to write in there? What Patsy said?
I got what Patsy said,
Okay.
but I don't really know what verbiage you want me to put in there as far as the bullets.
We would have to know exactly what the effective range is on the
I
scope.
mean, you just tell me what to put in and I'll put it in, but.
Well, it's just basically, I think Paula was making the point that the effective, like, visual range of the equipment, and I don't know if this is true or not, because I don't use that equipment, is 200 yards, and that if the target is missed, you don't know what's going out to, could be 1 mile or 2 miles with some of the higher caliber rifles if they're used. I think that was her
It's the
point.
caliber of rifle, it's not the bullets.
Right, it's caliber rifle.
Yeah.
You tell me what to put in there, commissioners.
Hey, I'm not gonna tell you anything, these other people are up here to tell you, because I'm fine with the way that it's written. I mean, you know, you don't always get to pick and choose the things that you wanna discuss and that you wanna move forward with, and this came to us, and this is how we decided to do it, so. I mean, if you have some language you want in there, let's hear it, so that Ted can put it in.
Exactly.
What do you want?
Did I surmise what you said, Paula? Yeah, so just basically that the effective range of night optics, you can see your target 200 yards. I first off want to make sure that is a correct statement.
And how would we find that out? So
I
I'm
want
looking,
you to put it in there that to take that into consideration. Maybe they need to find that
I
out.
don't know that you
but
need to
we
put a range, but
Somebody-
maybe,
Yes, exactly.
I think that the night optics do not, that the rifle and caliber can exceed the vision of the night
Yeah,
optics.
there you go,
Yes.
there you go. Yeah. Does that sound good, Paula? Okay.
That works.
Yep.
okay.
I don't know if that's possible.
Well, some of the new night optics, you can see a long ways away and tell what's out there.
A lot of the people that are doing this at night are ex-military. I mean, those are the guys that really pushed this whole issue, and it's not a sport, it's animal damage control is how I see it anyway.
Well, unfortunately, it opens it up to anybody. I mean, if young teenagers wanna do what they can, I mean, if we take away this ordinance, it's for everyone, not just for the people that are trying to limit our coyotes, so.
So you don't think teenagers should have guns?
Well, that's not what she said, Arthur.
You said
You know, I'm saying we shouldn't be shooting at night.
that's up
I
to
like our ordinance
the
the way it
voters,
is.
that's for the voters to make a decision.
So, in order to approve this, we have to read the whole resolution in?
Well, if you, yes, but if you wanna modify it, you can approve it.
Right.
And so on.
Okay, so you need to modify it for us.
Well, you,
with those two
You have
modifications.
to tell
Yes.
me what you
Those
want
two
done.
modifications.
Okay,
Okay, now bring it back, please.
okay, okay.
Those two
And,
modifications.
and the modifications are on the argument against passage, correct?
Right.
Okay,
Okay.
okay. We'll bring it back.
She has to have it by July, when's our next meeting? We'd have to finalize this on our meeting on July 14th, because it has to be
Okay.
submitted to Molly by July 18th.
Okay.
Yeah, public comment.
Public comment?
Morning, Worth.
Morning. Worth Nelson, for the record, private citizen and also a member of the County Advisory Board to manage wildlife. After just a quick search just now on my phone, the best night optics end at 300 to 400 yards.
I can't hear you, Ward.
The best night optics are only good for 300 to 400 yards, according to what I just found. I don't know what that means, but that's gonna be the higher end of cost and everything else. And I would question whether or not, from my knowledge of all the people I know that hunt predators for the most part in Lander County, in my circle of people of knowing, they are not ex-military people. Some are, it is not the majority of them. And the bullet most certainly has an effect on the range of injuring somebody or something as much or more than the caliber because of the makeup of bullets. If you have fragile varmint bullets, they often disintegrate on a ricochet, where if you have a big game bullet, which is meant to stay together, or a full metal jacket bullet, which very often is used in predator calling, they will often, have a further ricochet than a fragile bullet. So there is a difference. I'm not saying what they use, there is a difference
Right.
in
Part
the
and
bullet
parcel.
itself, not just the caliber.
Thank you.
So nobody had the answer to the night vision, how far it works. And, so, yeah, okay, thank you.
Okay, any more public comment? I'll entertain a motion. Well, we're not gonna have a motion, we're just gonna bring this back with the modifications on the 14th. Yeah, we have to have it by the 14th. Okay. Number 8, for discussion and possible action to set fire restrictions, burn ban, and accompanying dates for all of Lander County. We usually coincide with the BLM date. Nobody here, does anybody know when
Yeah,
BLM?
they put it into effect in May,
When?
last May,
Oh, wow, May?
last May, yes.
There's no campground fires.
Nope, not a BLM. We actually had a conversation about this and asked BLM to notify us, and
Yeah, they did.
they didn't, and so I thought we had had it in effect, and when I found out, I quick called Bert and said, we need to get this on. So we've been a little late.
I was unaware, but the Forest Service does not put in burn bans.
Forest Service doesn't?
Nope, I just found that out.
So on a state campground, you can have a campfire.
And in state campgrounds, some places you can, but the majority of state campgrounds now are requiring like the propane type fires.
Right.
They don't allow actual wood fires.
So, since the BLM has already imposed theirs, do we want it to be immediate, or do we want to give notice and give time for people to clean up their yards and take care of business?
Considering fireworks that break out in Austin, I think you probably should make it sooner than later.
Because
Set it,
it's more of a recommendation than anything.
set it effective immediately, huh?
Yes, I would
Okay.
agree.
Effective, well, okay, let's get a motion then.
I'll make a motion that we, impose the fire ban immediately
I'll second.
and, have it notified in the paper,
Okay.
Okay.
I'll second the motion.
Ben? Yes, something to say?
think she heard you.
Patsy,
Do you have anything more to say? Mike?
you turned your microphone on.
I turned it on to vote.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I burned yesterday just in case. Okay, call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. An update from Jason Monday regarding Air Med Care.
Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you for the opportunity to come and meet with you. My name is Jason Monday. I'm the National Director for Membership Field Sales for the Air Medcare Network. It's the partnership that the county has been involved with for the past couple of years, providing air ambulance coverage membership benefits to the residents of Lander County. The reason I'm here today is, it's my understanding you had a conversation previously, I think back in March, and there were some questions from that meeting, so I wanted to come out here and meet with you face to face and be able to address any of your questions or concerns, and then ultimately determine in what direction we go with the current partnerships in place that technically expired in February. We've continued to provide that coverage for the residents, but we're at the point now where we need to see if the county wants to continue that coverage for the residents, and if not, how we would communicate that message to the residents and let them know that some of them could be facing, you know, some of the financial repercussions of those decisions. So first, I'd like to open it up and just see any questions that you have regarding the membership program, the municipal site plans, things of that nature. I am the national director, so I'm intimately involved with those and manage those personally. So I'd like to open that up and see if I could answer any questions specifically for you.
My first question is, did you get a chance to actually review
I watched,
that meeting?
I did, yes ma'am.
Okay, so one of my main concerns was the accountability, because if we take it on for everybody and you don't wanna fly that one, I mean, there's nothing that we have that shows you were called or couldn't come or whatever, and how many people you've actually transported, et cetera. And the other big one was your amount, because individually, we can buy our membership with you a heck of a lot less than we can that you're charging us. I mean, $70,000, we only have, what, 5,500 people in the whole county, and if we can buy a membership for $100 a piece, we'll give everybody $100 and let them, I mean, it's less than that when you have families, and let them join individually. Why would we pay you $70,000?
Sign them up and then we'll reimburse them.
Yeah, right. Reimburse them their $100 if they have to use it. I mean, so those are a couple of our main ones, and we didn't understand why the cost would be so high.
That's right. All right, I can answer those if you'd like me to, okay. What we do when we look at the population, we're gonna use the census records. So the latest census shows 5,798 residents in Lander County. Our plan is a household plan. There's 2,315 households. If you were to go out and not continue the relationship we currently have, which is a discounted rate under the municipal site plan, if the individual households were to go out and have to purchase, the rates would be 85 or 65. So therefore, the amount would actually be significantly higher. If we were to average that out at $70 average per household, you'd be looking at $189,375 versus the $70,294 that we're providing the same coverage under a group discounted volume for the county. So it would be higher, not less. I wish the math would work out to where it would be substantially less, but it's not going to be when you look at the household plans that are out there and what our standard pricing amounts are. The concern about if you call, can we transport the patient? A very viable concern. That's something that anywhere across the entire industry, North America, overseas, everywhere, nobody is going to be able to give you a guarantee that if you call, they can transport that patient. There's very stringent requirements to transport the patient. Nobody can reserve a spot on the aircraft and say, you know, I come before Tom, my heart attack's more important than his. It's just impossible. That's why we have a network fleet of aircraft instead of just one dedicated to the community. What we can tell you is that the ready rate for the services that we provide under the AMCN providers is 92% of the time they're ready to receive that call and transport that patient. What factors in with things like that are maintenance, crew rest, weather, can the patient be transported, If you go back and look at their call or request, you'll actually see times where we were requested, and then the patient went further south where they couldn't be transported safely, so then we're called off. When we look at what's happening with the transports for Lander County, and we average it over the past couple of years, we transport 70 of your residents annually. The membership product, when you look at the price invested, and that's what we see it as an investment, and we have literally thousands of these across the nation that are working in partnerships with municipalities because the concern is real. They want to ensure that they can help lessen the financial burden on the resident. Now, there's a couple things that have happened over recently on 1 January, such as the No Surprise Act, and I know that was introduced and discussed a little bit during the last discussion. That's a great thing. Our company, Global Medical Response, has supported those initiatives. But for anybody to take away from that and go, this is going to remove all the financial concern, it's going to be in for a rude awakening. Because what the No Surprise Act actually does is it removes the threat of a balance bill for those that are privately insured. It does nothing for those that are under government insurance. It does nothing for those that are uninsured. It does nothing for those that the claims will be medically denied. So there's still a large populace that's not going to be provided any type of protection with that federal law that goes into place, or did go into place 1 January. In addition, this is the most important thing, it does nothing to remove the cost sharing concerns, the co-pays, the co-insurance, and the deductible requirements. If anyone comes to you and says, we can guarantee you that you're not going to owe anything on the back end without entering into a contract with you in writing and saying we're going to follow these terms and conditions, my advice is run from the agreement, because it's not backed up to where it can be enforced. You cannot arbitrarily just say we're going to write off everything that's out there in a cost-sharing fashion, because then you get into some compliance issues. And secondary, you have to look at the financials behind the business and go, how does it fund itself? If we could transport patients and just bill the insurance, and the insurance would pay an agreed-upon rate with us every single time, membership wouldn't exist. Membership has been around for AirMedCare Network for 36 years with almost 4 million members out there. Our focus is always to provide a solution, a financial solution, because we don't get to pick and choose whether we get to use the service. Most people don't have the capability to predict that they're going to end up meeting that crew. We don't want anybody to risk life or limb over the almighty dollar. So we have something that works, and it's the stability piece, no matter what happens with network agreements, no matter what happens with legislation, no matter what happens with whether a bill is denied, approved, overpaid, underpaid, it doesn't matter. Membership is going to come in and remove all of the out-of-pocket expenses. The only catch per se is it's one of our companies, because that's the only ones we can control. We own, operate, and lease these, and the billing cycles with them, so we can go in and manage that system for our members, and that's exactly what's been happening for the Lander County residents over the years. I know one of the questions that was previously asked was, you know, how does the insurance work and what is the savings? And I've heard the commissioners sit here and look at and make tough decisions based on what your investment is and what your return is. We certainly support that. We do the same thing as a business. I can tell you this, the $70,000 that you invest annually, multiply that times 10 times, and that's the saving that's happening to your residents within the county annually. So to go and look at it, you may have some that may have a platinum level insurance where their exposure could be very little. It may be a couple $100 or $1,000. You have others on the other end of the spectrum that have none. They could be facing the entire bill. And everybody in the room knows that these transport services are extremely expensive. From a company perspective, we're fine either way. We just want to provide a solution to you. We've enjoyed and appreciated the partnership over the years, and that's why I flew out here to sit down with you today and be able to answer questions and give you the clarity that you deserve. If you decide to continue the relationship with us, great, we're going to do that. We're going to continue to support you. You have my direct contact any time ever that you have a question or I need to step in and try to assist things. I'm making myself at your full disposal. If we don't, we'll continue to offer membership in the community. It's just going to be up to the residents to have that coverage. My concerning point is, since we technically had an expiration date of February, we've been in discussions, we've been continuing to provide that coverage. We're going to have to go back and tell approximately 35 people that you don't have that coverage that you thought you had in place. So knowing that, I would like to work with the commission to deliver that message to the community so nobody's shocked or upset. We try to manage those emotions the best that we possibly can. So, other than that, I will open up for more questions. Hopefully I've sparked some questions there.
I appreciate the information, and most certainly on the balance going. But back when you hit the accountability, I guess what we were asking for is is how many people you have transported and how many calls did you get that you couldn't transport.
Yes, ma'am.
I mean, we understand the reasons you can't.
Okay.
But we want to know what the numbers were, and there was never anything coming back to us. And the other thing was to find out after the fact that our contract had terminated with you, and we were all appalled. We had no idea because it didn't come up ahead of time, and it should have for us to make that decision. So I think we were all kind of concerned about that, of what that had left for us when people didn't know whether we belonged or we didn't belong, and so we didn't like the way that went. That
Certainly,
didn't
and
make any points.
I appreciate you bringing that up, because that's news to me. We have an invoice process that 90 days prior to it going into the expiration window, we start invoicing and sending out. So what I'll need to go back, because I've seen the transmissions, I need to make sure we have the right contacts. And sometimes this happens because you have turnover in departments or a spam system's rejecting our emails. So I can go back and fix that. That's why I've applied the grace period, so we can have these discussions. And then if you decide that, hey, this is valuable, we want to continue to provide this for the residents, I can work that. We can just start off today saying that we're still in a partnership, retroactively go back to 2/6, and there's no gap in the service there, if that's what the commission decides that you want to do. On the transport, we transport an average of 70 residents every single year. That's going back for the last 5 years. That's the trend you see. Now, you'll see a spike where sometimes it'll go 75-80, sometimes it'll go 65-60. On the caller request, you see about 85 to 90 actual requests that are not called off. So you're looking at a 70+% capture rate. I think we're 73% capture rate when we're requested. The other factors, as we talked about earlier, with the maintenance, the weather, the crew member sick, all those things factor into that
We
determine.
understand why,
Yeah.
but we wanted the numbers.
73% is a number that, 70 transports annually is the average. 73% of the time when you call us, we can respond and transport that patient.
Another issue that came up were, when members didn't have their bills paid. Have we had those bills paid yet, Liz?
No,
Which ones are you referring to?
I have that little handful right here.
Great.
I would
love to
ask
look
that
into
you
those.
actually open it up for public comment.
Okay.
Yeah, and what I would like to address on those, because I did work on one specific example that I saw in the video that a public resident brought forward, so I was able to reach out to them, we were able to actually resolve that. There's a couple things that trigger these billing issues. The first and most important thing is we have to validate that the person is actually a Lander County resident. When the bill comes in, and this is what the patient or the patient's family provides, that data, and it comes in with a P.O. box, we can't apply membership coverage to a P.O. box because nobody resides in that P.O. box. We're trying to look after our best interest and the county's best interest because we want to make sure that we don't apply coverage for somebody that's not a Lander County resident. So what we do is we try to communicate with the patient. When we go back and look at these cases, and they happen everywhere, I'm not gonna, lie to you and say they never happen. It does, because the billing process is super complex. What we find a lot of times is that the patient is not responding back to us, providing proof of residency. Very easy to do that. You can send something from tax records to property taxes to mailing, billing statements, any of those things, so we can sit back and go, this person actually does live within the boundaries of Lander County. Remember, previously I referenced the census data. That's what we determine our financial calculations on to make sure we can manage the write-off amounts that come from the transports. That helps us remain compliant, not only financially, but also when we go through Medicare testing and things of that nature, which are absolutely critical. The other things that we'll see is sometimes they'll turn around and change insurance in the middle of the transport or the billing process. So you submit to one, it gets appealed or denied, and then we kick it back and we have to go back. But the key thing is communication. One specific case that I found in my research is the insurance carrier sent the check for the services rendered to us, to the patient. The terms and conditions state that the patient will turn that check over to us, because that's part of the agreement, because we're gonna bill any and all insurance that's applied to the transport to offset the cost of the service itself. Any questions?
What is it, the average price from here to Reno?
It's a very tricky word when you say average, because we could sit here and say a typical transport is, a couple hundred miles away, and then all of a sudden we get the next call and it's all the way across the country.
Most of ours goes to Reno, so that's why I'm asking.
Yeah, do you have the data on that?
Actually, no, I don't.
Okay.
But there's a base rate and then there's loaded miles that's applied for the flight time over.
It's substantial.
But
The cost is substantial, and I'm sure you have people in the room that can sit there and have received recent bills or notices or summary of benefits is what it is, saying this is what the cost is. But you're looking at, tens of thousands of dollars on the billable. When we go back and we look at what the average percent of what the insurance collectively for Lander County residents is paying, it's reimbursing about 25% of bill charges. So that shows you some of the financial impact that they could be facing through their cost-sharing concerns. And then on top of that, if it's denied medically, it could be an excluded item where the plan doesn't even cover it at all, then it can be their entire responsibility. So we just want to provide the solution. If they're okay with not having membership, that's all right. Just understand this is how the process works. This is what the impact could be. If you want to participate in membership, this is a solution. And we can't control every operator. We can control our own. You can't have reciprocity in a membership program. The Office of the Inspector General specifically forbids that. So we can only control our assets. But the greatest thing is we're the largest air ambulance provider in the nation. So we have the protection you're providing for Lander County residents is not only just what's happening right here, but I've actually seen transport data where we're picking up your residents in Texas, and we have a full fleet of aircraft there that we're able to provide the benefits to.
First of all, let me make sure that you understand this is not an action item today.
Oh, I certainly understand.
So,
Yes, ma'am.
so there isn't any way, even if we wanted to go back to February, we could not do that. But one of the concerns, and I appreciate what you're saying as far as problems with people, because we are a lot of post office boxes and just box. And every time we say box, everybody thinks it's a post office box and it's our rural route. So, I mean, that's what we have, so I understand. But the biggest thing was, we didn't have a contact that we could get a hold of that would help us work on it. I mean, it went months and months, and we're trying to get a hold of somebody. So if we did go back with you folks, we would want a contact, one who really cared to get to the bottom of this problem. This is what you need, this is what I need from you. Because that was just unbearable. I mean, we went through several people that could not get anyone in your office to even call us back or help us get to the end of it.
Thank you. Apologize. Can we do better? Yes, and that's why I'm here today. I am the national director. I traveled 15 and a half hours to come out here last night. So I'm here, you have my name, I'm gonna be in place, I'm the direct contact for that. I have corrected.
15 and a half hours?
15, I flew, traveled, no ma'am, I'm out of Tennessee, if I can make it in 15 and a half hours, I'll start another company and go that route. But 15 and a half hours of traveling to come here, because, I watched the video, we have some room for improvement, and that's what we're gonna work on, and I've corrected some of those already. I've also worked with our billing department to go in and figure out how we can try to identify the difference between rural route boxes, PO boxes, because our checkmate really is the U.S. Postal Service, and we go there to see is this a confirmed physical address, and that's to make sure it's applicable. We have some of those things in motion, and I understand you can't make a decision today, but again, I didn't come here for that. I came here to answer your questions and provide some explanation, because you deserve that. You expressed that during the last meeting, and I'm here. So, and I think now it's public comments, and I'm welcome to hear those at the same time.
Please open it for public comment.
Any more questions from the board? Okay, I'll open up public comment.
Thank you. For the record, my name is Jacob Dahlstra. I'm the EMS director for MedX Air One. We're an air ambulance company based out of Elko. We have a helicopter in Elko. We also have a helicopter in Winnemucca. We have 2 airplanes in Elko as well. So I wanted to make a few comments about balance billing and air medical membership to help give you a different perspective. So Mr. Monday is correct. Starting January 1, 2002, the No Surprise Act went into law. This was a protective law that went in effect. The legislation bans most forms of surprise billing or balance billing, in which a person unwillingly gets a medical bill by a provider outside of their private insurance network, even when visiting an in-network facility. So previously, if a consumer had a healthcare coverage and got an out-of-network provider, the healthcare plan usually would cover wouldn't cover the entire out-of-network cost. This left many high costs for the consumer as they, if they left many high costs for the people that were in network or out of network, for people that were out of network, sorry. Especially in emergency situations when the consumers may not be able to choose the provider, such as in an air medical situation. So in these cases, the out-of-network provider could bill the consumer whatever they wanted to for the service. And in the amount that was paid would have, the amount of out-of-pocket would have to be determined between the carrier and the provider. So this bill was put into place to protect consumers from receiving these surprise bills or out-of-pocket bills. And so currently, what this protects the consumers is it protects them from surprise billing. It also protects them from not surprise billing or any bill that wasn't approved ahead of time. So they have to get prior authorization. And so so this bill has been put in place to protect the consumers. And so things that have to go on now is that the consumers have to, they can't get a surprise bill without some kind of knowledge about it. The other thing that I'd like to address is Mr. Monday talked about people that don't have insurance. And so just so you guys are aware, people that are on Medicaid, no provider is going to send them a bill. If you're on Medicaid, you don't receive a bill for health care. And so those people are protected. For people that are on Medicaid, they're protected. People are on Medicare. They typically, if you're on Medicare Part B, you're going to Medicaid, pays 80% of bill charges, and so the other 20% is usually protected by some kind of supplemental insurance. And so the other thing that I'd like to address is also Mr. Monday also mentioned that if you guys get this for your citizens within the county, it's only going to protect them if their aircraft comes. And so there's a lot of other carriers that come into this county, so MEDEX Air One being one of them. There's also, CareFlight, their helicopter, if they come into this county, they're based out of Reno. There's carriers out of Salt Lake, so you have IHC, LifeFlight, you have the University of Utah AirMed, LifeFlight Network out of Idaho. So there's not just Reach and the Air Care Network providers that are coming into this county. And so I just want you guys to be aware of that it's only going to protect citizens that are on their aircraft. At MEDEX Air One, we kind of handle things a little bit differently. We don't balance bill. So if you are a citizen of this county, of Lander County, you're not going to receive a bill if you're transported by us. And it doesn't cost the citizens anything. It doesn't cost the taxpayers anything. This is a service that we provide to the county for no cost. And so with those thoughts in mind, with the Balanced Billing No Surprise Act in place, and understanding that there are other carriers that transport and fly a lot of patients out of this county that aren't a part of Global Medical Response, and the fact that you have a carrier that services this county that does this service for free, I highly ask that the commission considers not funding the Air Care Network within Lander County. Thank you for your time.
Can I add a comment?
More public comment. Anybody else public comment? Okay, go ahead.
All right, first, it's very clear that to define what free means. Free means that there's no cost incurred with the service at all. So billing, insurance, accepting donations, stuff like that is a funding source. So for somebody to sit there and say that their service is free is inaccurate. It's not. Second, balance bill is different than the patient's financial responsibilities, which is the cost sharing. The No Surprise Act even specifies that. So to sit there and muddy the waters and make it sound like balance billing is going to remove all the financial burden on a patient is incorrect, and quite honestly, it's alarming. Patients should know that they're responsible for their coinsurances, their costs or their co-pays, and their deductible requirements. Nobody can guarantee that those are going to be met through a process until the process is initiated and it goes through the process itself. Second, Medicaid is protected. It is a form of insurance, so that would not be an uninsured person. Medicaid is going to be providing Medicaid benefits. There are some exceptions where it could be an excluded service that Medicaid could deny the claim, but it's very rare. That's why we extract the Medicaid population out of our calculations to be compliant, to make sure that we're not charging membership fees for Medicaid residents within Lambert County. The other thing is under Medicare A original, there is no air ambulance coverage. It's a hospital door type service. Once you hit the hospital, it kicks in. So your residents that have Medicare A original have no air ambulance coverage whatsoever, so they'd be responsible for the entire bill. Medicare B has the 20% co-insurance requirement. Medicare B plus through F with the supplements are the ones that have the additional coverage that could be in place there. The key thing is that the claim needs to be approved by Medicare as an authorized transport and medically necessary. And there's distance limitations regarding that too, on which facilities you can and can't deliver to before Medicare cuts off. So there's a lot of moving pieces in there that's important for people to understand. And that's why we offer membership, because it's the reinforcer. It's going to come back in and provide that stability behind it if a person chooses to do that. Jake was correct on talking about there's multiple providers in the footprint, and that's something that I stressed at the very beginning, that we can only cover our own providers. We can tell you that historically we've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 aircraft coming into Lander County on an annual basis, just from our network. I can't control what other networks do. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
So
Now,
am I correct?
I appreciate that you spent 15 and a half hours to get here, and we can't really make a decision. So if there's any time in the future that we can make a decision,
I have something to say.
well, we're gonna run out of time here before 12 o'clock, and we've got
I
item
don't have that much to
15,
say.
so let's hurry up.
Nope, I don't have that much to say. So, am I correct, because when I was flown out a handful of years ago, it was 30 grand, okay? It was before the county paid. So if you're 70, and my calculations are right or wrong, and I had to obviously use a calculator, so $2 million for your 70 that we carefully route at, if you did $30,000 a person, I mean.
What you bill at, I can tell you.
I know, but I mean, if you're looking at the big scheme of things for the cost, $30,000 a person is a lot of money. And it was in excess of that when I got flown out. And so, if you wanna look at the bigger picture, if you're 70 people, $30,000 plus a person, I mean, that's a lot of money towards the community, and I'm just throwing that out there. That's a lot of money.
I mean, that's one, the perspective is to look at it, it could be that high.
Yeah.
It could be less.
Yeah. Come on up.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you
Appreciate
very
it.
much.
Hi there, Tim Holland, LP Insurance. I don't think they're doing a good job of explaining what you're buying. They can't tell you how far to go. They can't tell you per mile. They can't tell you to Reno. They're saying if you don't renew, 35 people are going to get billed. I think that's putting you in a pretty tough position. That's bad business in my mind. I think they should explain balance billing to a higher level. We have members of Lander County that satisfy their deductible, their copay, their out-of-pockets, and the insurance company pays 100% of bill charges that they are contracted to, and then your residents get a bill of $68,000, of $110,000. These are licensed companies that are balance billing fully insured individuals. And we got one just the other day, 20 months after data service, got a $62,000 bill from Reach. 20 months. So that tells me they're running an audit of people that went on helicopters prior to the No Surprises Act going into play and going after those as much as they can. That's number one I think they need to address. Number two is now that No Surprises Act is going forward and you're paying $70,000, I think they need to supply you pretty much a summary of benefits or a schedule
that you know what you're getting and know what your residents are getting. Right now, it's a blind check. They can charge whatever they want because they don't even know what they're charging, one. And two, they're not telling you what they can charge. I think those two things need to be satisfied.
Thank you, Tim. So I guess we'll talk about this again at a later date. We're gonna jump to 15 for discussion and possible action to approve, disapprove the renewal proposal from Nevada Public Agency Insurance Pool, POOL, in the amount not to exceed $520,306.49, and approval for payment out of FY 22-23 funds. This is an increase of $26,871.64 from FY 21-22. Good morning.
Morning, Al.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. For the record, Alan Kalt, and for the record, my 7-hour, 3-minute presentation will go up faster
Oh,
than
no,
this.
you got 15.
Oh, rock and roll. I want to come in under budget as a finance guy. I want to appreciate that. As they're loading up our presentation, first of all, I want to thank you. I want to thank you for your membership in Pool Pact. You are the owners of the program. The owners are the cities, the counties, the school districts, and the general improvement districts that operate the pool. It's member-owned, member-governed, and I'm staff, and we have insurance agents throughout the state that also serve to support our program. We have a website at poolpact.com. There's a video that says About. There's an About tab that gives a good background of what the insurance pool does. The increase that you noted in the cost of the premium, it represents 5%. Overall, our increase was 11.9% throughout the balance of the membership. So your increase was less than what the pool-wide average was. That's including the fact that your payroll was up 4%. Your total insured values exceed $108 million, which were up 5%, and you had an increase in vehicle count of 6%. So, your cost of coverage did go up, but you had exposure increases, and it is less than the overall pool-wide average. In our investments, I knew that was going to happen, because if the IT guys couldn't figure it out, there's no way in heaven I can figure it out.
That's
So
okay, just keep rolling.
I'm just going to keep rolling without it.
Doing
So
good.
75% of the amount of money that's collected by pool goes out to pay claims and the loss fund of the organization. Our coverage, we have 2 nonprofit captives that we own, one for pool, one for PACT. We use other nonprofit governmental insurance mutual, also has a layer of coverage. What do? We provide key services. We got 6 different types of services that we provide in addition to the property and liability. We're on probably slide about 12. We have human resource services, risk management services, our e-learning platform, health and wellness, cybersecurity, and law enforcement safety. Our risk management programs are outlined in the information included in your packet. We provide cyber coverage. This year, the cyber coverage is capped at $15 million in the aggregate for all the pool members. We've had a passive network assessment done out here in Lander County. We even had one done at the Sheriff's Department to test your vulnerabilities. Earlier today, Mr. Slintz gave an update on the technology and what they do to help protect the organizations. They participate in our annual cybersecurity summit. Tony Rucci is our cybersecurity expert in Oasis Online, has had clients that have had situations. They've worked with Tony to help resolve that, and we've not had to pay Bitcoin out on those type of things. We do the KnowBe4 testing out here in Lander County. You guys have done that. The only bad news is that you've had a pretty high hit rate. So what happens is they send these fake emails, these phishing emails, Cabela's gift card, let's say, and if you end up clicking on it, you get sent to training. If it's a phishing email, You know, we don't want people to get too happy to click, so at that point, they have to go to some additional training. Our e-learning platform with Absorb, it allows your employees to take e-learning classes. Most of them are 20 minutes or less, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You guys have 80 active users. You've completed 144 courses during this current fiscal year. You can develop your own courses to assist you. In Lander County, some of the risk management services, we did an aquatics assessment of your both swimming pools, the one in Austin as well as the one here in Battle Mountain. Did the passive network assessment, as I indicated, 2019 for the main computer in the sheriff's office in 2020. We did a jail assessment and some follow-up last year. You guys are active users of Target Solution with your EMS. You have 24 active users, and you have 9 people within the fire department. So we really appreciate the fact that you're using these services. Because at Pool Pact, these are service dividends. If we were a for-profit company, we'd be paying dividends to the stockholders. So the way we give you, the stockholders, the dividends, if you will, is services that are being provided for the entities. How do we know what services to provide? We listen to you as the members during our annual meetings and different meetings. What are your needs? As we go around to the different entities, we hear what the needs are. We try to find out what solutions we can do. We've developed a loss control excellence program. It got revamped. It helps safety committees look at all the areas of excellence and loss control within the organization. And then if you completed an entity the size of Lander County, you would get a rebate of approximately $20,000 that could be reinvested into safety and related programs. Our human resource overall, we invest nearly $1.2 million a year for HR excellence and the folks in that program to support our local members. They do alerts, notices, HR briefings, phone a friend. You have an HR consultant that comes out, works with your folks, develops a business plan. You know, in summary, I think it's important, like I said, is that we are a risk management consortium that provides interactive solutions for public agencies. We're owned by you. We're governed by you. We have financial strength and durability. We have effective cost risk sharing and financing, member networking and resource sharing. We're stewards of the public assets of the money that you pay us. We're committed to quality service, and we're focused on the future. So that's a quick overview. Be happy to answer any questions that you or any members of the public may have regarding the program.
Board members, any questions? Patsy?
I have a comment.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, and when I went through everything, I was kind of excited by only the 5% increase when I saw how much we have added to it. But my comment is that your meetings are now at the same time as our commission meetings, so we can't even attend, and I'm kind of disappointed in that. It was never like that before.
So are the annual meeting being on that Thursday?
And you've done that the last, what, 2, 3, 4 times?
Yeah, because it's been a Thursday, Friday, and yeah.
But you're hitting our Thursdays and going, we can't even get a representation to your meetings, so just a thought.
Okay. It's always a
Any
challenge.
public comment? The one thing that I'm gonna say is that this is an insurance company, and you say we own it, but you guys make the decisions on the claims. If we don't wanna settle on something, you guys are the insurance company, you're gonna go ahead and settle.
So we work, we have a third-party claims administrator, Davies Claims Solution, that works with the member and the facts and situations of each individual case, and looks at the coverage, what coverages are available. And unlike other insurance companies, although it sounds like perhaps there's a case that we maybe denied coverage or maybe not provided enough coverage that you felt was adequate, you know, we do allow interactive process for that. So.
Any more public comment, questions, concerns? Okay, I'll entertain a motion. Anybody?
I make a motion that we approve the renewal proposal from Nevada Public Agency Insurance Pool in the amount not to exceed $520,306.49. And the approval for payment out of the 22-23 funds, I'm sorry, you have to wait for your money till July 1st. This is an increase of $26,871.64.
And I don't think that's really that big of an increase on a $500,000 policy.
I'll second.
Okay, Patsy made the motion, Kathy seconded it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously.
Thanks, Alan.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Alan.
We have 10 more minutes. Bert, you have something you need to move?
Unless there's somebody here in the public that,
Okay.
like their item before.
We're back on
The Navy.
Maybe?
The Navy.
the Navy.
Yeah.
Number 10?
Number 10.
Okay, let's do number 10. That's easy.
Good morning.
Number 10, for discussion possible action to approve, disapprove the Fallon Air Station's use of the apron space and to provide refueling for their activities for the dates of July 23rd through the 29th and August 6th through the 11th at the Battle Mountain Airport. Good morning.
Good morning, Robin
We
Schofield,
love you
Community
guys.
Liaison. Thank you. Yes, and I'm here by myself today. Unfortunately, my training officers had another scheduling
Did
conflict.
you have to drive?
I did, which 2.5 hours. That's
From where?
Fallon. Yeah, so not too bad.
They could have flown you in.
Nobody was available to do that this time. So the only difference with this request is that normally we request to use a hangar, but I was informed when I put in the request that there are no hangars available for the 2 weeks. So that's the only thing different in this request if you compare it to our past ones. I am working with Miss Carly, that if one does become available, we would like to be able to use it.
No, I think it's cool to take the kids out there and they can see the helicopters and all that. You know, every now and then we get concerns because people think we're getting invaded because a big plane will fly over Battle Mountain, but. Okay, entertain a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve the Naval Air Station on the dates of, July 23rd through the 29th and August 6th through the 11th. And if we get a hangar available, they get use of it. Second.
Second the motion.
Okay, JR made the motion, Patsy seconded. Any discussion, comments, concerns? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Thanks
Passes
for waiting.
unanimously.
No problem. Thank you, guys.
Oh, no problem, man. We enjoy this. We got 8 more minutes.
We could bang out 13 and 14 real quick.
13 and 14.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay. We're gonna jump to 13, for possible discussion and possible action to approve, disapprove the reappointment of 2 individuals to serve on the Lander County Board to manage wildlife. Current terms expire June 30th, 2022, and the new terms run from July 1st, 2022 through June 30th, 2025. Okay, the first candidate is Worth Nelson.
I make a
motion.
I make a motion, we approve the reappointment of Worth Nelson to serve on the Lander County Board to manage wildlife, to run from July 1st, 2022 through June 30th, 2025, and I'd like to thank him for his participation in what he's doing, so.
Second the motion.
Okay, Brian made the motion, Patsy seconded. Questions, concerns, public comment? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. The second candidate is Ted McIlvain.
I'll make a motion, we reappoint Ted McElwain to serve on the Lander County Board to manage wildlife. His current term would be July 1st, 2022 through June 30th, 2025.
And I'll second that motion.
Okay, Patsy made the motion, Brian seconded. Concerns, public comment? All in favor?
Aye.
And our thank yous.
Yes.
And number 14, for discussion possible action to approve, disapprove the reappointment of 1 individual to serve on the Lander County Public Land Use Advisory Planning Committee. Current term expires June 30th, 2022, and the new term runs from July 1st, 2022 through June 30th, 2024, and the candidate is Amy Nelson.
I'll make a motion that we approve the reappointment, or actually, is she serve on it currently?
I think so. yeah.
Okay, the reappointment, to serve on the Lander County Public Lands Use Advisory Planning Commission, for Amy Nelson, and her, that term would run July 1st, 2022 through June 30th, 2024, and I'd like to thank her for her service as well.
I'll second it.
Okay, Brian made the motion, JR seconded. Any questions? Public comment? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, passes unanimously. We'll get out 5 minutes early. So we'll break, we'll be back here at 1:15 for the rest of the meeting. And if we're not done by 3 o'clock, they'll just have to wait.
Oh, heck, we'll be done by 3 o'clock, come on.
You don't wanna stay long? Okay.
Something to say, Bert?
Y'all have a good lunch. You on there, Molly? Okay. We're back in session. Number 11. For discussion and possible action to approve, disapprove the annual maintenance and support agreement with Justice AV Solutions, JAVS, in the amount not to exceed $11,717, and authorize the county manager to sign the new terms. What are they maintaining?
So the JABS is what is recording our meeting. They run all this electronic stuff that.
Oh, okay, okay. I was just wondering. Any questions? Any public comment?
We want them to improve, don't we? We need another camera, we need the Zoom, and we need better audio.
Yeah, so you can see who you're talking to, and you can hear what they're saying.
There are some things that I think we need to address at some point moving forward. I think that IT or Oasis is working on this. Part of the system that when this courthouse was built, I guess, and I'm just learning this, that
There were supposed to be TVs here so Austin and Battle Mountain could see each other and communicate back and forth. So them are things that we're working on and getting in place, but it's an IT issue more than it is the jabs themselves, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So it is being worked on.
Conference line on?
Yeah, we're
Correct.
off. It's on now.
Need a motion?
I'll
Hold
make
on
a
a sec.
motion.
I wanna make sure Austin's there. Austin, are you there?
I'm here.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll make a motion that we approve the Justice AV Solutions in the amount not to exceed $11,717, and authorize the county manager to sign.
Second.
And it runs from July 1st, 2022 to June 30th, 2023.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, JR made the motion, Brian seconded. Do you have any concerns, comments, public comment? We'll call for a vote. Everybody in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passes unanimously. Okay, number 12, for discussion and possible action to approve, disapprove the following union contracts. General employees, Lander County Sheriff's Association, Lander County Law Enforcement Association. What's going on, folks?
You got the changes in front of you, all the red lines. You guys wanna go through these contract by contract? I mean,
Yeah,
Well, can we-
How do you wanna handle it? What happened is we went to negotiations with these three union units. We, came to a resolution, and they met with their members, and they submitted certain changes, modifications, the county worked with them, and those are the red lines Liz is talking about. And so we are asking you to approve the three contracts with the proposed red line modifications.
Okay,
basically, to sum it up, a lot of the red lines was just cleaning up language, taking out some language that didn't apply to us anymore. The huge change was that the county would continue to pay the dependent coverage for employees, families, and spouses, but part of the kickback was that the county no longer give the 2% merit.
And the membership, the general
Yes,
memberships?
they have all, my
voted?
understanding, all three of these have been ratified.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, we're gonna take them contract by contract, right? So the first one is the, general employees. And I went through everything, I see we got the Juneteenth and, all those type of things, but my table of contents is incorrect. So our page numbers are wrong. And
Okay.
We do need that corrected. So somebody's just gonna have to go through and say, this page.
And I will kick an email back to Phil and Joel. I actually thought Phil was gonna be here, for these, but, so it's just a matter of me sending an email to Phil and Joel and telling them,
Okay.
these are the things that need to be fixed.
And so for clarification, Phil is the union, steward that takes care of all the union stuff, and then, Joel is the county's attorney that negotiates between the county and the union.
Great. The first motion is for the general employees contract.
Yes.
I'll make the motion to approve the contract for the, union contract for the general employees.
I'll second the motion.
With the
With
changes
the-
outlined by Commissioner Weeks.
With the corrections outlined by Commissioner Waits.
I'll second.
Okay. Kathy made the motion, Brian seconded. Any comments, concerns, public comment? I'll call for a vote. Those that vote aye?
Aye.
Aye. Passes unanimously. Okay, it'll be the second contract, Lander County Sheriff's Association.
Any questions on it?
No, I didn't have any on that.
I'll make a motion that we approve, the Lander County Sheriff's Association contract.
I'll second it.
Okay, Brian made the motion, JR seconded. Any comments, concerns? All in favor?
Aye.
Passes unanimously. And the third motion, Lander County Law Enforcement Association.
I'll make a motion that we approve.
I have some corrections on
Okay.
that one. And I did notice, I don't know how many you did, but under the remote pay for Austin and Kingston, they increased that
Yes.
by about $2,500 a year. And they also increased like our K-9 handlers, and on that part too. But I did have some corrections on the table of
On
contents.
that one. Okay, so I'll amend my motion. I say, I'll make a motion to approve the Lander County Law Enforcement Association's contract with the noted changes, that Ms. Waits presented.
I'll second it.
Brian made the motion, JR seconded. Comments, concerns, public comment? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we already did 13. 14, 15.
Art's been for 3 years. Tracy, since he's been sitting there all day.
Oh, what number?
What number are
What
you?
number are you?
17.
17? Oh, okay, let's do 17. For discussion, possible action to approve, disapprove the application to combine parcel in approved subdivision for Lander County Historical Society, APN 002-200-14 and 002-200-15 located at 825 Broyles Ranch and 950 Burns, Battle Mountain, Nevada 89820, Zone GP. This was approved by the Planning Commission June 15, 2022, with the following conditions. Final approval by the Lander County Surveyor will be required prior to final recordation. Final approval of the Lander County Assessor will be required prior to recordation.
Afternoon, Trace.
Good afternoon, Tracy Price.
There's only
got
two.
For number 17.
Should there be another one?
No, that was mine. I misspoke, for the record.
Okay.
Dead right.
Let me turn that back on. Say that again.
No.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Aaron Martinez for the record.
Jessica Walker for the record.
And Tracy Price, representing the Lander Historical Society, for the record.
This item in front of you, Commissioners, was approved by the Lander County Commission, as you see with the two conditions listed. This item was spurred from a application through construction, and so we've got this component solidified, and item 1 of that condition has already been completed. The county surveyor has provided final approval.
Any questions? All right, I'll make a motion then to approve the application to combine parcels and approved subdivision for Lander County Historical Society, APN 002-200-14 and 002-200-15, located at 825 Burroughs Ranch Road and 905 Burns Street, Battle Mountain, Nevada 89820, Zone GP. With that motion, there's the two conditions that have to be met, which was the final approval by the Lander County Surveyor will be required prior to final recordation, and final approval by the Lander County Assessor will be required prior to final recordation.
I'll second.
Brian made the motion. Kathy seconded. Any comments, concerns, public comment? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Pass.
18 is those two.
18, for discussion, possible action, approve, disapprove an application for a special use permit by Lander County Historical Society on parcel 1 of section 19, township 32N45, number 104556, APN TBD, if approved, special use permit to build, operate, and maintain a pole building to act as a secondary museum. This was approved by the Planning Commission June 15th, 2022 with the following conditions. Final approval by the Lander County Surveyor will be required before recordation. Final approval by the Lander County Assessor will be required prior to final recordation. These conditions outlined in the existing special use permits associated with the parcels known today as APN 002-20-014 and 002-20-015 shall still pertain any conditions that may conflict with this conditional approval. The most stringent conditions apply. Off-street parking lots shall conform to section 17.08.020. A, staff recommends this facility to be evaluated under TC Tourist Commercial with a requirement of 1 space per every 300 square feet gross floor area. B, commissioners have accepted the hard surface definition in municipal code to allow a compact gravel surface as a parking lot until future paving can occur. 5, off-street loading and unloading shall conform to 17.08.030 and the latest code of ADAAG or ANSI-ADA compliance. A, frontage improvement will be required. B, commissioners have accepted West Community Phase 4 project perform the frontage improvements as currently budgetary allocated. 6, plans shall be submitted to the Lander County Building Department.
Quite a bit there, Commissioner. Thank you very much for outlining all those conditions. I'll let the applicant kind of state how his project, and then we can go over the staff recommendations.
So as in number 17 is we went to apply for a permit to build another building to store more exhibits and expand on the museum. I brought some pictures to kind of, it talks about a pole building. It's going to be, I mean, if you just say pole building, this is what it's going to resemble, is the old depot that was downtown on Main Street. So they tore that down, and we're gonna use that as a kind of a, not so much as a replica, but represent that building. So it'll be to exhibit, more, antiques and museum ideas and stuff on both ends of the building. The center of the building will be actually, an open area, and you'll see there'll be 3 big bay doors that the people can use as like craft fairs and stuff, but we'll have mostly exhibits in there. And then, so doing that, we found out that the property was never, combined into one parcel. We couldn't build on the property line, we couldn't bring utilities across that property line. So we come to finish up the combined property parcels. And then now we find out we have to get a special use permit. So the special use permit will be in place, so we can now advance to the next to get permitted for this project. So that's where we're at now.
So I have a question. When it says frontage improvements will be required, frontage improvements, does that include the trees that you're showing?
Thank you, Commissioner, for that question. It's a great question. So typical development, sometimes you are required to do landscaping and those types of components. None of those were required by the Planning Commission. The only frontage improvements that are being requested were sidewalk and ADA access improvements.
I want trees. How do I get trees?
We would have to look at a municipal code modification in order to start to add those types of triggers. And then typically what municipalities do is they try to focus on a certain percentage of the gross area of the property. In most cases, it's typically 5 to 10% of the property must be landscaped and prove that landscaping component in order to achieve a development permit. And so those are definitely code modifications that the county could look at to further spur some of those initiatives.
Well, I understand when it comes to lawn and the water and things like that, but trees are too important. I just feel we need to require trees anytime there's development.
Absolutely,
yeah.
We don't have the codes in place to do that at this moment. It's the problem.
and the planning,
But it's a good wish on it.
And we're not,
yeah, under this application, but to kind of go further onto those frontage improvement requirements, the county management was in discussion with us and outlined that our Phase 4 project is actually going through this frontage. And so part of that condition is the Planning Commission accepted that as meeting that frontage requirement. Otherwise, this project would be required to do those frontage improvements. So your Phase 4 West Community Project, part of it is to do the Safe Routes to Schools component within that. And that's basically satisfying the requirement of this applicant.
Well, I see you're leading up on some of our staff requirements, so as you know what I want under your staff requirements, then put it in where you can put it in.
We'll definitely.
And just to add to what Aaron is saying is what the county stance on this is we know the museum has a limited budget to work off of here. We know that they can't comply with some of these requirements that are gonna be in there because of the budget. So with us coming through with another phase in our projects, to us, it just makes good sense to bypass some of that stuff and then us include it in our project, and it'll come back before this commission for approval, and then we'll pave the parking lot, and maybe at that time, if we work with the museum, they would be willing to let us plant a couple trees with them or something.
we just ask that whatever are in those stipulations that we know that the Lander County Historical Society knows up front, so we can plan for that, because that's going to change our plans and for the future. So we don't want to have to go and permit and then start building and then find out we have to do a bunch of extra stuff that we can't afford to do.
So with that, it is a corner lot, it is quite a long area, and so again, the Phase 4 Safe Routes component of the West Community Project, one already budgetary allocated, and we'll be coming back to you shortly for an acceptance of a bid award, and we're gonna be moving on to those phases. The last components he discussed is the parking lot definition under Lander County Code is a hard surface, and that hard surface, as I read the definition, is a gravelled packed surface. So there's nothing that says that Lander County requires a paved parking lot, which I find a little hard to believe. But with that said, we're working with our code modification side of things with county management, and we're looking to change that definition to require paved parking. But in the short term, these folks can meet that current requirement, and that's our basis of acceptance of satisfying that off-street parking requirement.
Actually, that whole area was discussed before commissioners a while ago with the hard surface, and it turned out to be such a monetary problem for our small businesses to really do that, that we decided it was too much financially to, could really hurt their business, even though we like the idea of paving. So we became very moderate on that, that's why.
Understandable. So with that, we recommend approval, conditional approval based on these 6 conditions. The next step from this point is the building department side of the plan approval for them to go to construction.
In your motion, you could just refer to the 5 following conditions. You don't have to read all the conditions out.
The 6.
Or 6. You could just refer to the 6 conditions as presented to the
Okay,
board.
so I'll make the motion to accept, to approve the application for the special use permit for the Lander County Historical. I'm sorry. I'll make the motion to approve that application for the special use permit by Lander County Historical Society on parcel 1 of section 19, township 32N45, number 1045556, APN TBD, if approved. Is that as far as I have to go, or do I have to read the whole thing?
To be determined if approved, with the following, with the 6
Okay, with the 6 conditions that were outlined
and presented to the board.
and presented
to the board.
as presented to the board.
I'll second the motion.
Kathy made the motion, Brian seconded. Any more comments, questions, public comment?
Public comment? Thank you. We really believe that this is gonna benefit everybody in the community, and we couldn't do it without your support, so we just want to say thank you.
Thanks, Lois.
Oh, and we're planting trees. You mandated it, we are gonna have some landscaping eventually.
We know you will. Thank you for working.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passes unanimously. We need to go back to 16. For discussion and possible action to approve, disapprove the canvass of the vote for July 14th. Or June 14th, I'm sorry. Molly, by golly.
Hi, Commissioners. What I have for you is the canvas and abstract of the vote. If you look through, I have the election summary, and I also have the statement of the vote attached. Behind that, if you look, I had a manual audit done. We did 3 state seats and we did 3 county seats. I brought in election workers that went through each ballot, that were run through the DS-200 and the 450. The DS-200 is people who came in and voted in person, either election day or on early vote, and then the 450 is people who mailed in their ballots. They went through every ballot, they did a tally of each party. I didn't give you guys a copy because it's a lot, but if you look through, I have where each person went through and tallied each person.
This was an actual audit of the paper ballot.
An actual audit of every ballot cast in this election for those 6 races.
Any questions, comments, concerns, public comment? All in favor? Aye.
We need to make a motion.
Oh.
I'll make the motion that we approve the canvass of the votes for, I'll start that again. I'll make the motion that we approve the canvass of the vote for June 14th, 2022 primary election.
I'll second the motion. I'd like to say thank you very much to the clerk and all her staff that helped. And
Thank you.
thank you very much.
Kathy made the motion, Brian seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Passes unanimously. Okay, I think we're on 19 now in the other book. Come on up, Juicy, this is your show now. Should we open all these up, Ted? Open all these up or just one? Okay. For discussion, possible action, approve, disapprove resolution 2022-04R to levy the 2022-23 tax rates. Juicy.
So, this is the 22-23 tax rates that needs to be, the resolution needs to be read.
So we need to move this whole resolution in, right?
Molly?
No, it needs to be signed down there.
I'm not used to the R behind the number. Is there a reason why we have that? 2022.04R?
We don't know, but it is correct. We verified
We
it.
don't know either, but
No.
yes, okay. All right, I'll tackle that one. You guys ready? I make a motion to approve resolution number 2022-04R of the Board of Lander County Commissioners, a resolution by the Lander County Commissioners, State of Nevada, to levy the ad valorem property tax rate required for the fiscal year July 1st, 2022 through July 30th, 2023, in accordance with NRS 361.460. Whereas NRS 361.460 states, immediately after the Nevada Tax Commission shall certify the combined tax rate, the Board of County Commissioners shall by resolution proceed to levy the tax rate required for the fiscal year beginning and succeeding July 1st, 2022, designating the number of cents of each $100 of property levied for each fund. Now therefore, it is hereby resolved by the Board of County Commissioners of Lander County now that the Nevada Tax Commission has certified the combined tax rate and that the levy of taxes in Lander County for the fiscal period beginning July 1st, 2022 shall be in accordance with the following schedule for each fund on $100 of property. General Fund, 1.2670, Road and Bridge, 0.1909, Indigent, 0.0755, Ag Extension, 0.0150, Aging Services, 0.0850, Airport, 0.0400, Culture and Recreation, 0.0895, Youth Services, 0.0009, State Indigent, which goes to NACO, 0.0150, State Medical Indigency, 0.0655, Capital Acquisition, 0.0300, Lander County Landfill, 0.0500, Hospital, 0.5101. Once again, hospital, 0.5109, school, 0.7500, state rate, 0.1700, for a base rate of 3.3552. Specials, Austin Town, 0.2213, Austin Water, 0.0542, Austin Sewer, 0.0135, Battle Mountain Town, 0.0500, Kingston Town, 0.3048. Passed and adopted this 23rd day of June, 2022. Did you second? I second that.
Okay, Pat's made a motion, Kathy seconded. Questions, concerns, public comment? All in favor?
Aye.
Passes unanimously. For discussion, possible action regarding letter on one-year delinquent taxes per NRS 361.5648 and NRS 361.565.
So this is just the affidavit from me to the board stating that I sent out my one-year delinquent letters according to statute, which I keep track of the letters that were mailed and returned undeliverable.
I move to acknowledge the Lander County Treasurer's personal affidavit to the Board of County Commissioners affirming that due notice has been mailed with respect to each parcel that was noted in our agenda.
I'll second.
Patsy made the motion, Brian seconded. Any concerns, questions, public comment? All in favor?
Aye.
Passes unanimously. 21, for discussion and possible action to approve, disapprove payment of Lander County Treasurer for payment of taxes held 2022, 2023.
So what's this, Juicy?
This is for people who have me hold, they pay in advance.
Oh, got you, okay.
I make a motion to approve payment to Lander County Treasurer in the amount of $12,353.48 for taxes collected in advance from specific taxpayers for the 2022-2023 tax year.
I'll second.
Patsy made the motion, Kathy seconded. Any questions, comments, public comment? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Number 23, for discussion possible action to acknowledge the list of refunds for NRS.
This one,
Number
22.
22.
Okay, 22. For discussion and possible action to approve, disapprove adjustments to the roll.
These are just all the adjustments made by the assessor.
I'll make a motion that we approve the adjustments to roll.
I'll second.
Okay, Brian made the motion, Kathy seconded. Questions, concerns, public comment?
I do have a question. I don't understand what it means when it says the liens have been transferred twice.
Yes, this happened, the previous treasurer had put liens in as a permanent assessment, so they keep rolling over every year as a permanent when they shouldn't be. So I have to take them off. But hopefully that will not happen once we convert to our new system. That should be removed.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. 23, for discussion possible action to acknowledge the list of refunds per NRS 354.240 made by the Lander County Treasurer from July 1st, 2021 through June 23rd, 2022.
This was a refund we did for $19.99.
I'll make a motion, that we, so we're just basically acknowledging it.
Yeah,
Make a motion that we acknowledge the list of refunds per NRS 354.240 made by the Lander County Treasurer from July 1st, 2021 through June 23rd, 2022.
I'll second it.
Brian made the motion, JR seconded. Questions, concerns, public comment? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, discussion possible action to approve, disapprove the transfer of delinquent water sewer accounts to the 2021-2022 secured tax roll as reconciled on June 23rd, 2022. A, to transfer the reconciled accounts according to Lander County Code, Section 13.04.050, parentheses 7, parentheses E, Battle Mountain. B, to transfer the reconciled accounts according to Lander County Code Section 13.08.050, Austin Water and Sewer.
So step me through this. So we're taking the delinquent accounts and we're transferring them to the secured tax roll.
correct.
So, I mean, cause there's some of these, there's several properties by one owner that, I mean, adds up to a few $1,000s. I mean,
Yes.
is there a reason why they're not being paid?
They just don't pay it.
Give us any money.
So we collect it through their taxes.
Yeah.
They don't like the tax man, huh?
No.
I'll make a motion that, nobody has any questions? I'll make a motion that we approve the transfer of delinquent water and sewer accounts to the 2021-2022 secured tax roll as reconciled on June 23rd, 2022. So that's comprised of two parts, to transfer the reconciled accounts according to Lander County Code Section 13.04.050 section 7, subsection E, Battle Mountain, and B, to transfer the reconciled accounts according to Lander County Code section 13.08.050, water, Austin Water and Sewer.
I'll second it.
Brian made the motion, JR seconded. Concerns, questions, public comment?
Just a comment, it's so hard to believe that you get behind on some of this, but when you look at them, some people have parcels that they have a credit on, and yet they have another parcel that they still owe something. And I go, it's gotta be confusing, I'm sure, but if you go through these names, I mean, we've got everybody from our physicians, our local physicians, to probably about, I think I counted about 30 of our employees that are on here. I mean.
Well, that was my point, it's like, why aren't they being paid, is there, I just don't believe that.
I can't believe that we're
Yeah.
missing that, and yet you send letters out saying that they're behind, right?
Yep, they get liens.
I mean, I don't know what else we can do to get their attention.
Well, if it gets their attention, they put it on the tax roll.
And it's published in the paper?
It certainly gets their attention, for sure.
I understand what you're saying, Patsy. I have a hard time understanding it too.
So one of the reasons it's this way is NRS, you cannot shut off seniors' water and other things like that. So we just attach this to the tax roll for anybody that may be having hard times. That way we don't have to delineate between the two. Yes.
I'm just saying, I believe they would pay it if, you know, if they were here. I can't believe they don't know it.
Yeah.
Just, don't wanna slow you down, Tracy Price for the record, I just got a question, so if you're putting them on the tax roll and they're not paying their taxes, can they lose their property because you, after so long, so? Do these people really know
That's
that?
that's the only resolved recourse that we
They get
have.
all the notification, that's why everything includes notification sent to them.
Right, yeah, that's scary. Just go through there, huh?
We get a motion on 24?
I made the, motion.
Is that a motion and a
Okay,
second?
and JR seconded?
Yeah.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. 45, for discussion possible action, approve, disapprove payment for delinquent water and sewer accounts for 2021-22 and reconcile on June 23rd, 2022 to pay accounts according to Lander County Code 13.04.050, 7E, Battle Mountain, and B, to pay accounts according to Lander County Code Section 13.08.050, Austin Water and Sewer.
I'll make a motion to approve payment to the Battle Mountain Water and Sewer in the amount of $58,905.38, reconciled on June 23rd, 2022 for the Battle Mountain Water and Sewer delinquent accounts 90 days or older per Lander County Code Section 13.04.050, Section 7, subsection E.
Second.
Okay, Brian made the motion, Kathy seconded. Questions, concerns? All in favor?
Aye.
I'll make a motion to approve payment in the amount of $3,894.72 reconciled on June 23rd, 2022 to Austin Water and Sewer for delinquent accounts 90 days or older per Lander County Code Section 13.08.050.
I'll second it.
Okay, Patsy made the motion, JR seconded. Public comment? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, where are we at
Was that 26 we just did?
Yeah.
On 26, does there need to be two motions? I just see that the recommended action is to approve. Did you approve both A and B, Patsy?
I'm sorry.
now? Did you put A and B in there?
We just did 25.
Oh, we just did 25, okay.
Okay, 26, for discussion and possible action to approve, disapprove the list of delinquent properties for sale in Lander County. And B, an order directing the county treasurer permission to sell the delinquent tax properties.
Okay, hold on a second, guys, because I think the motion I made for 24 was the motion for 25. Was anybody following me? I think that's what happened.
Yeah, I did 25.
Yeah, I know, but I think I read that motion.
You read it right.
I did do it right? Okay,
They're very similar, but you did.
okay, just wanna make sure.
Okay, so now 26, and you guys want to look over and see what's for sale? How do you sell this, Goosey?
I'm going to do a, online auction.
Online auction?
These 59 properties have been here for 8-9 years now. So I figured I'd do an online one and get rid of them.
Okay, well, I'll make there's no questions? Ready for a motion? Are we ready for a motion?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we approve the list of tax delinquent properties for sale. Do I need to make a two-part motion, Ted, or can I just put both items
A and B.
in the one motion?
You know, I'd prefer if you did them individually,
Okay.
because this is the final conclusion to everything we've gone through so far.
Right.
You're giving her actually
Okay,
permission to sell the property, but first you
Yeah,
have
it's
to,
so I'll make a motion, okay, I'll make a motion that we approve the list of tax delinquent properties for sale.
I'll second it.
Okay, Brian made a motion, JR seconded it. Any public comment? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
And then I'll also make a motion, to make an order to be entered on the record directing the county treasurer permission to sell the delinquent tax properties listed for sale according to NRS 361.595.
I'll
Now,
second
all
it.
these people have been contacted?
And they'll be contacted again before I,
Yeah, 'cause I see a name there, I'm kind of surprised, but, okay. Made a motion, any discussion, public comment, all in favor?
Aye.
thank you.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy.
Just a quick question, in the last, 2 days since you actually prepared this, have you had any that have come in and brought things up to date?
On,
The last one,
for the water and sewer?
the ones we just did?
Yes.
So some
For
of
the
these
water
are
and
on
sewer
this-
or the tax sale list?
Which one? Well, I'm talking about the very last one, the ones that.
The tax-
last
no.
one of the liens that we're putting up for sale.
No.
No, just on the other ones, okay. thank
Yeah.
you.
Stick around for a little bit for, of course, the setting the agenda stuff, because that might involve you and might need to ask a question, so if you don't mind.
Okay.
Number 27, correspondence, reports, future agenda items. Bert? Nothing?
So my question is, I think it's been quite a while since we've had a surplus sale for Lander County. I think the last one I can remember was back between 2007 and 2010 with Grace. What do we need to do that? Because I know we got a yard full of stuff sitting over there that's been there a long time.
I gave Bert a list on the procedures for it that I had from Grace.
Okay.
So that one is squarely on me.
That one's on you?
Yep.
Is that something that we would probably do by online auction as well? And then my other question was, is if we don't sell it, do we continue to hang on to it, or, I mean,
So here's what we have, is I got Donnie, we got a list from Donnie, and we got a list from Austin Road and Bridge, and then the sheriff's office is compiling their list. And we have a company that's actually coming in, and they will advertise this online and put
okay.
this thing out where it's not just a local auction, so it hits more entities, and we have a better chance of getting rid of everything.
Okay.
They're supposed to come in and kind of tie all these loose ends together and make sure that we're following the proper process of
Okay.
liquidating
All right.
government property.
Okay, I don't know if we need an agenda item for this, but how are we situated with DIF? DEF, diesel, environmental,
Oh,
Oh,
Def?
DEF? So that's not a product you can store because it goes bad. So, as we have totes, 250-gallon totes at our road and bridge shops that we fill out of, but to have much more of that on hand is
It'll go
pointless
bad.
because it kind of goes bad before you can get to it.
How much equipment do we have in the county, Donnie, that runs off?
We have 4 or 5 pieces, and correct, Bert, we only have 4 or 5 pieces of equipment that run off DEF right now, but as you buy more equipment, it's gonna have it. Bert said we have 250-gallon tote, we buy it by pallet, and they come in.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so.
well, maybe in the future, it might be a good idea to rebuild instead of buying new. I mean,
Absolutely.
we're doing that
But-
down in Austin, and that's gonna be a benefit in the future.
I've been talking to a lot of these well, not necessarily manufacturers, like the parts people and like Peterbilt and all this stuff. And there is talk about them going away from death in the future.
Right, they've been talking about that for a while.
Yeah.
Going away from it?
Going away from it because it causes
Yeah,
cancer.
in like 25 or something like that. Yeah. So it's just like way back in the day when they said R12 was killing the ozone.
Right.
Yeah.
And now R12 isn't killing the ozone, so it's coming back to the same thing.
Okay.
Thanks, Don.
Yep.
Anything else? Public comment? No public comment? I need a motion to adjourn.
I do have one public comment.
Okay.
Sorry, I almost forgot. We, at 3 o'clock today, we have NDOW gonna be in town. They will be in this meeting room. They want to, they'll run a quick little slide over the TV showing kind of the overview of the Lickens Ranch, and then right after that, they have tables and chairs, and they're gonna do a little barbecue down there at the Lickens Ranch, let everybody in to view that. I know I made that comment at the last meeting when they were up here for, to give a Lickens Ranch update. So, anybody and everybody that can attend, if you can let them know, I think that'd be great so the community can see it.
They might want to bring the rain gear.
It looks like it.
So, yeah, motion to adjourn.
Brian made a motion.
Second.
Kathy seconded. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Have a nice day, folks.
Muted. This conference is no longer being recorded.